Round 3 and race 4 of the 2017 Michelin Le Mans Cup brings us to the Styrian Mountains in Austria. Who could argue with coming to this place to go motor racing? A relatively short track, just over 2.5 miles, but it effectively goes up the side of a mountain and then works its way back down again through turns 3, 4 and 5, heading into Rent and then the final corners. A tight and twisty technical circuit, and our third stop on the tour. We kicked things off in May at Monza and a double header at Le Mans, which was two races over 55 minutes. Trip still to come to the south of France, to Spa in Belgium and to Portimao in Portugal. There is a quick look at the track here as well. As I say, it's 4 kilometres, 2.5 miles, and a real challenge for these drivers that are making their way to the grid. The LMP3s and the GT3s qualified a little earlier on today, and Graham Goodwin to my right and me, Johnny Palmer, around to see it. Still 39% humidity in the air. I don't think that necessarily represents a strong chance of rain, although I will be keeping my eye across the forecast, because this is very definitely an endurance race. 2 hours. You need to make a pit stop somewhere between 55 minutes and 65 minutes. And unlike qualifying, Graham, where you have to have your bronze driver setting the time that determines where you start on the grid, you can start the race with either of your drivers.
You can indeed, and there's a couple of the pro drivers are taking that option on this grid, Johnny, after a super late effort. Secured pole position for the SPV Racing Ligier after what had looked like a dominant performance from the DKR Engineering Norma. The 21 cars all coming to the grid now. We don't think any dramas since qualifying for any of the runners, but we're going to see a couple, I think, of runs from the back of this grid with cars that didn't qualify at the front. We're going to have on the 9th row of the grid, the RLRM Sport number 14 Ligier, Alex Capadia will start the race in that car, and ahead of him on the grid on the 8th row in 16th position, the Ram Racing Mercedes AMG GT3 will start the race in the hands of Tom Onslow Cole after a good effort from Ramon Vos. Rookie at this kind of level, Ramon, but it'll be left to Tom Onslow Cole to do what he can to actually get that car to the front of the order before handing the car over. We've seen before in the Le Mans Cup a bit of a change in strategy from some of these Pro-Am teams, perhaps putting in the pro driver, and those of you with long memories will remember that happened here this time last year when it was an all GT3 affair. But Johnny Molan's run from the back, rather spoiled by the fact that there was a 3-car pile-up, I'm afraid, at the first turn.
That is the risk for me. Well, there are a couple of risks actually, and we were over lunch chatting, funnily enough, to Tom Onslow Cole about the pros and cons of putting a gold driver in first as against the bronze driver, which for Ram Racing is Ramon Vos. And Ramon, definitely a man on the up, getting into motorsport relatively late on in his life after a really successful lifetime career in business, and has found a little extra cash to go motorsports racing with his co-driver Tom Onslow Cole, and Dan Shuttlebottom runs the team. The 5 Mercedes then starting from 3rd position in the GT3s and from 16th position when you factor in the P3s. The problem is, if it does all go a bit pear-shaped up ahead, they've put Tom Onslow Cole in that car, so there is a chance that the car could be involved in an incident through no fault of Tom's, of course, or you might have a late safety car, which is something else we discussed, and that's often why in GT3 races, whether that be 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour GT3 races, the gun driver, the really quick driver, is kept till the last moment, just in case there is an incident and there has to be a restart and you want someone very quick to motor it to the finish. Well, we got
a glimpse there of the car that's going to be Tom Onslow Cole's principal target, and that is the number 46 EB Motors Lamborghini that took pole position in the GT3 class. It's a bit of a mix-up in the middle order between the quick qualifying GTs and the slower qualifying LMP3s. That should make life interesting. They're pretty well matched around here in terms of lap time, depending on the driver. But it's a good-looking grid once again. And in the mix this year for the first time, of course, in Le Mans Cup, the addition of the LMP3 cars, they make 15 of the 21 starters here at the Red Bull Ring. Now glorious sunshine again. See the clouds, though, gathering, and weather here can change remarkably quickly. We saw it a couple of evenings ago from, well, literally kind of sun-burning bright sunshine to absolutely torrential downpour out of what at the time felt like a clear blue sky.
Just gets to that point where the atmosphere just can't take much more effectively. It's been heated up and heated up throughout the day, and something's got to give, and the dark clouds rolled in. We had a downpour, as you say, which would soak you through to the skin within a couple of seconds. That eased off very quickly, but then the rest of the evening was a torrential downpour, thunderstorm, lightning, and don't think the weather's going to be quite as bad as that today, although we might have a sprinkling of the wet stuff over the next couple of hours. Tomorrow, though, for the European Le Mans Series event, much heavier rainfall is the forecast.
Potential one to watch there, Motorsport 98, and almost in the shadow of the Red Bull sculpture in the centre of this circuit. Eric de Doncker will start that car. Andy Merrick, ex-Bentley and Aston Martin factory driver, will take that car over for the second half of this race. And Andy, I think, enjoying his time at the moment, has shifted focus to some Pro-Am racing with some gentleman customers of his in LMP3 and GT4 racing, and doing well in both. And 8th on the grid is this number 12 S3 Sport Management, Scuderia Valour Corsa. Ligier with the all-carbon front end there after an incident in free practice. Not far away now from getting these cars underway. 33 car there, the Ibrahim Pardo Javier car, 7th on the grid on the 4th row.
Yep, took a while for that car to get going in qualifying after one or two offs, including a spin at the, I think it was later on in the lap. We had several spinners at the first turn, although 33 I don't think was, but Ibrahim Pardo Javier is the entry, and Javier Ibrahim one of the drivers, in fact, Matthijs Bakker the other, and it'll be the Spaniard to start that car, to hand over to fellow bronze peddler Bakker.
As you can see from this shot, overdevelopment of an urban area, not an issue here. Very green, very, very pleasant. 6th on the grid, and a great qualifying run here from Sean Lynn, which means they're on the side pod of the Brolly to keep his co-driver nice and cool. There is Sean aboard the Gulf Marine liveried 23 car. Father of Alex Lynn, of course. Doing great things in endurance racing around the world at the moment as part of the WC G-Drive team. And then alongside that car, on the 3rd row, the number 65 Graf car, and that is going to be started by Adrian Chila. Graf Racing, of course, represented in the European Le Mans Series race tomorrow by their pair of LMP2 Orekas, and their LMP3 efforts from last year in the LMS moves over this year to the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and they're very welcome indeed on this grid.
About to catch an eye, I think, of the 79 car, the Nielsen Racing Ligier of Tony Wells and Colin Noble. That car is due to start from 4th position, and Colin Noble doing quite a bit of LMP3 driving in the UK as well with Nielsen Racing. So that car will start on the outside of the 2nd row, and there is Tony Wells already inside the 79 car. He'll hand over to Colin then somewhere between 55 and 65 minutes, and the 79 car neatly placed in the championship 2nd, 10 points behind the DKR Engineering car. They remain on 36 and 26 points respectively then, but of course the car that took pole position, number 44, gained an extra point, and it needs a few points, only 1.5 to its name after a tricky start to the season for SPV Motorsport. We'll see a little more of that car in a second, but this is the N-Race entry, number 99 of Alain Costa and Thomas Ackery, 2 Frenchmen, and the bronze driver to start that car. But a tremendous sight this main start and finish line makes with its steep incline up to turn 1.
This is the car, Johnny, we thought throughout most of that session was going to take pole position. DKR Engineering, Sean Gloria, still very cheerful indeed, but had that pole position snatched from him right at the death of the session from nowhere with an amazing final sector. But this, Norma, is certainly going to be a challenge for the Ligiers. Great to see a bit of a mix between the 2 French makes in LMP3 on this grid.
And Alex Sorrell, who is Jean's teammate, took victory in the 2nd race of the week, the Le Mans week. There were 2 Road to Le Mans races, of course, in the build-up to the big 24 hours. And standing outside the car, Alvaro Fontes, about to clamber on board then the 44 machine that took pole position late on in the session by just 1/100th of a second. It was very, very tight indeed, and the 44 car snatching it, as Graham says, from the Norma. So a Ligier and Norma front row representing Spain and Luxembourg. And it is DKR Engineering that lead the championship. They need not worry so much about the 44. As I say, SPV Motorsport, a tricky start to for their season. They're down in 16th with just 1.5 points to their name. You might ask, where on earth does the half point come from? Well, if you finish outside of the top 10, but you're still a classified finisher, you do get half a point. So you get cars that have finished 11th, 12th, 15th, gaining these half points throughout the season. So much so that Spirit of Race, number 55, fourth in the championship, have 15.5 and trail DKR, Nielsen and United Autosports with their number 2 car. Looking through the rest of the grid, it will be the Marattiotto car, Marcello Marattiotto, sharing with Marco Cencetti, and they race for SVC Sport Management, a team based in Austria. Only a couple of teams that are here this weekend at their home race, but SVC Sport Management with 2 cars, one in LMP3 and one in the GT3 brigade, Lamborghini Huracan in fact for Cedric Mezar and Stevie S.
And there's an interested party, just been taking a few snaps of a very good looking grid, and he and his team have got reason to be proud of this. Is Gerard Neveu, the head of LMEM, the organisation that looks after the FI World Endurance Championship, the European Le Mans Series, and this, the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Clearing the grid now ahead of the start. Isn't it great to see this place in full sunshine? It's a spectacular location to come racing. It's a spectacular location to come and do anything, frankly. Yep. But a colourful grid. The LMP3 cars and the GT3 cars looking magnificent this afternoon.
And it's obviously going to be thirsty work for all the pit crew in their Nomex suits to protect them from any incident in the pit lane, and they're going to be watching the race from the relative coolness of the garages, but we'll have to step out into the heat of the pit lane apron to do the pit stops. But a thought for the drivers as well, and the non-pro drivers, who will do a little bit of fitness where time allows, but you know, their main job is generally not motor racing, so need to be fit and raring to go to do 55 minutes in these very, very warm cars. The engine in the P3s sits right behind the cockpit.
Yeah, that greenhouse, the cockpit, will be getting very warm indeed. And of course, some of these bronze drivers, very much amateurs. This is, as Johnny said a little earlier in the broadcast, this is, you know, what they choose to spend their time and for a great degree their money on. And to see the state that physically some of them emerge from these cars, you'd wonder how much of a pleasure that would be. But they're absolute uber enthusiasts. And given the opportunity, given a lot more money and a lot more skill, I can't say as I would make a different choice.
There may well be a little bit of makeshift air conditioning carried by some of these cars. And I say makeshift, just some holes almost feeding into the car to blow some cool air, passing air into the face of the driver, just to make sure that they can keep their wits about them. But 55 minutes could be a bit of a haul around this place in the baking sunshine. And the grid is now being cleared of the last individual members that still are by the cars, just to ensure that they start. Many of them holding brollies as well, not because of the threat of potential rain, but because of the heat. And those last few members on the grid are now being, well, about to be asked to leave as we continue the countdown ahead of this third round of the season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the 4th race indeed. And we've had victories for Nielsen Racing at Monza, a victory in the first race at Le Mans for the number 2 of United Autosports. That was John Falb and Sean Rahal. And then the DKR engineering duo of Jean Glorieux and Alex Turrell, who's a real talent of the future, silver driver. Looking forward to his stint at DKR engineering for the second hour of this race. So this race due for a 4 o'clock start. 2 hours now on the clock, and we're just around the corner from the start of that race. A low-flying drone, I think we just spotted on the grid as well. Just
above the Jaguar course car that will lead this field away. You see it there. Our white drone will be getting, I'm sure, some spectacular shots for us at the start of this race. So LMP3 becoming a real global formula. In fact, earlier today, another ACO sanctioned race across in Malaysia with the Asian Le Mans Sprint Cup. Again, seeing a tidy grid of LMP3 cars, and the 1 minute board goes up. And what you're looking at here, and what you would have been looking at if you watched their broadcast earlier today online, are some of the teams and some of those drivers that will be, I'm sure, in a year or two's time in the European Le Mans Series in LMP2 and LMP3, and certainly looking forward to, I'm sure, what is everybody's dream on this grid. This is the road to Le Mans 24 hours.
And the early idea was to maybe review the standings within P3 at the end of the year, and the possibility to exchange teams out of this championship and into the ELMS in a promotion stroke relegation type format. It remains to be seen whether that will be carried through at the end of the year, but we're continuing to elongate the bottom section of the ladder, if you like, and create yet more ways to race at Le Mans in years to come. And this, at the moment, is the entry level for LMP3s, and also a great place to race a GT3 car as well, taking on what used to be GTC from the European Le Mans Series into a separate class. It was run as a separate class for the first time last year, and P3s added to the grid for 2017. The formation lap then is on the way. 3 minutes till the start. That's about right to get these cars round the 2.6 mile circuit at Spielberg. And they should therefore be coming out of turn 9, the final corner on this grade 1 listed track. Should be coming out of that corner at a couple of seconds to 4 o'clock.
SVC Lamborghini, a little struggle getting off the line, but they're all the way cleanly now and in the proper order and formation. We'll get close to around turn 8-9 before I'm sure we'll hear Eduardo Freitas tell the field to form up in grid order.
The recap of the grid on the bottom of your screen. That's row 5 then, Cool Racing alongside Motorsport 98. The pole position in GT3 taken by EB Motors and Emanuele Busnelli, starting alongside an LMP3 car. Then the next to the GT3s, that's Flick Haig for Optimum Racing in an Audi, and the Spirit of Race 55 car is a P3, going to be started by Claudio Stadanovic. More GT3s, one definitely to watch in the early stages is the car driven by Thomas Lecole to start from 16th position, car 5.
On the grid, close the gap to the car in front of you, please. I've got some pickups on the grid, close the gap to the car in front of you.
And the SVC Sport Management Lamborghini Huracan will start from 21st position, 6th in class. That Lambo run by the Austrian outfit and started by Cedric Mezar in readiness for Stevie S, the gold graded driver, towards the end of the race. And
it's got a little bit untidy there.
Yes, it did. Hence Eduardo Freitas' message there to just close up the gaps. There's still opportunity to do that. The middle of the pack is at turn 4.
Huge gaps. The cars are making huge gaps. The line is very long.
If this isn't to his liking, he'll send them around again. So let's hope we can get the cars, the front end of the grid, more or less where it needs to be.
To grid formation, cars to grid formation. I need all the gaps closed immediately. Cars to grid formation.
So initially Eduardo wanting the gaps between the nose to tail cars closed, and then that gives everyone the opportunity to get side by side.
Cars to grid formation immediately. The line is very long.
Into this Noah's Ark type formation, 2 by 2, effectively a moving side by side grid. And that generates our rolling start, but we are running out of time now to get this into position. Graham's already shaking his head. I think the front section of the grid's going to be fine.
Gaps on the grid. Close the gaps immediately. Close the gaps immediately.
Yes, irritation being shown by the race director here. Looking at a bit tidier there.
Position to keep the pace. Pole position.
That's a lot better now.
Overtaking only after the signal and after you've crossed the start line.
That's over the rise then into Rint corner. Still instructions from Eduardo coming. And I think he may just about be happy with this now as the cars exit turn 9. They are side by side, although looking a little bit ragged. If he wanted 2 straight lines, Eduardo Freitas' chance has gone, I'm afraid, but we're underway.
We have started started the 2 hours of Red Bull Ring.
We certainly have started it, and the two cars at the head of the order power their way into the first corner. Can the 44 get through safely? Yes, the DKR engineering car forced a little bit wide, but nowhere near as wide as many of the other cars further back. Thankfully, none of them connecting with the tyre wall. The GT3 leader is still Emanuele Busnelli in the Lamborghini, but it is Alvaro Fontes that leads the way. He's being hunted every inch of the way by Jean Glorieux in second position, though, Graham.
Yeah, a couple of cars very, very wide indeed at turn one, including Alex Capardia getting out the way of close contention with a couple of the GT3 cars. Just ahead of him on the road, Tom Onslow Cole, as they started on the grid. They're the two pros, remember, to watch coming up through that order. If they can manage to keep it clean. 13th and 14th through the first timing sector.
And the Nielsen Racing car has got the jump on the N-Race machine. Now, N-Race started to drivers right on the grid, so had the more optimum line into the first corner, but Nielsen able to go right round the outside. So N-Race dropping to fourth position and starting to gang up a little bit now on Alain Costa in that 99 car, because also there is the, that's possibly the Graf car that is not very far away in fifth place. We'll pick through the top few runners as they go across the line in a second and confirm their places, but it's been a great getaway for Emanuele Busnelli, although as I say that, he goes a touch wide. Oh, and there's side-to-side contact at turn 9 as the Lamborghini tries to rejoin as well. Meanwhile, cars to Emanuele's right-hand side, more P3s trying to pick off that GT3 car, but that was all because the Lamborghini got the wrong line into Rindt corner, and as he rejoined, he walloped the, may well have been the Cool Racing by GPC car.
I think it was. That gave Alex Capardia the opportunity to come back through the pack. He's up into, where is he, 11th position now. So that run to the front from the RLRM Sport car is underway. Just looking to see where Tom Onslow Cole, already up to second in the GT3 class and 13th overall, so that's to plan as well at the moment. Big lock-up from somebody back in that pack. I think they're all still on the island.
Marcello Maracchiotto, a bit of a star in the early stages. He has gained a number of positions now. Yes, there is. It's the DKR engineering car then coming out of Rauch corner for the second time and is ahead now of Alvaro Fontes. So Jean Glorieux takes the race lead partway around the second lap, but also, as I say, look out for car 12, up from 8th position now running to 5th.
John Lynn off the track and running around the back of the, no, is this a big lock-up? It was the big lock-up. Running through the gravel, and instead of pulling back into traffic, takes the option of going across the gravel track to the escape road and will rejoin safely. But Jean Glorieux it is with a clear lead as they cross the line to finish lap 2. It is 1.7 seconds to the good after a lap of 1 minute 29.671 seconds, and no one else can match that. Here comes Alex Capardia, still making up places up to 8th position now. Started that car down in 18th, so 10 places on the first 2 laps from Alex Capardia.
Keeping an eye as well on the GT3 lead, because Tom Onslow Cole has very hurriedly worked his way up the order and is now right on the boot lid of Emanuele Busnelli. Here they come towards turn 2, and the dark grey Ram Racing Mercedes right on the tail end of the Lamborghini, and also with them will be Flick Hagen, the number 75 Optimum Racing Audi, yes.
So that's your 1, 2, 3 in GT3, and it will be Tom Onslow Cole looking for a way by Busnelli. Great display in qualifying from Busnelli. Tom Onslow Cole, though, is the pro driver in the Ram Racing Mercedes AMG. And the game here for Tom will be get to the front, get a gap that Ramon Vos can then defend. Busnelli, though, doing a great job at the moment of fending off the pro driver. Glorieux, though, is pulling away, and pulling away quickly in the lead. Almost 3 seconds to the good as he comes to complete lap 3.
Quick look at Phil Keane there in discussion with the guys at Lee Mole Motorsport. Effectively, Lee Mole is the entrant for the number 7 Mercedes that Lee is currently at the wheel of, and meanwhile there's a battle now developing for 2nd and 3rd positions as the 44 car is under pressure from Tony Wells for Nielsen Racing. A look back at the start, and everyone cleanly away. There was very nearly contact, in fact a big lock-up into the first corner, and that was maybe Sean Lynn late on the brakes as well. And then the side-by-side action as Emanuele Busnelli gave the cool racing car, started by Alexandra Kwani, a bit of a side swipe at turn 9, but both cars are still running.
It was the 33 car with the big lock up into turn 1, and it was getting away from that gaggle of cars hitting the apex, which is why Alex Capadio went wide, but I think he went rather wider than he expected he'd have to. He's up in the 7th meanwhile, and Busnelli's still fending off Tom Onslow-Cole, but barely, just 0.3 of a second. There they are, and the leader GT3 car just kicking up the dust ahead. It is the 33 car again. It's about to be bossed by the GT3 leader. Busnelli going up the inside of the Ligier. Has he seen him? Rather chops off the nose there. That's given Tom Onslow-Cole an opportunity to get onto terms, and Flick Haig waiting there too. She can get involved in this one. Busnelli looking a little more ragged there as he recovers from just that stumble in traffic with the Ligier.
Yeah, dropping a couple of wheels onto the curb there, the right-hander at OMV, at Vorstalpien rather, and then onto Rindt corner, which is the penultimate right-hander, through Red Bull Mobile and back onto the main start-finish straight. First, second and third in GT3 absolutely together. They're up to 11th, 12th and 13th positions in the overall standings as well, and just ahead of them is Javier Ibram as part of the 33 squad there. Ibram Pardo, Javier Ligier. And if anything, these GT3 cars all working together are a little quicker than the 33.
Yeah, any mistake by the 33 is going to have him with, well, more than mirrors full. There you go, it's look in the window, and there goes Lamborghini up the inside of the Ligier. Tom Onslow-Cole is going to have a crack at doing the same. The Lamborghini man trying to put that car between the two doesn't work this time. Onslow-Cole goes through, he's still with the Lamborghini. V10 Lamborghini versus V8 Mercedes AMG, and Flick Haig now looking for an opportunity to get by the 33 car. Outbrakes itself, and though through goes the Audi. This is a cracking GT3 battle.
Certainly is, and of course only one of these three cars has their pro driver, their non gentleman, if you like, in the car.
Absolutely.
Or gentle lady, and Flick Haig to be taken over by Joe Osborne a little bit later on, but Flick incredibly quick for a non-pro driver, and did really well at Monza, but ended up having the win stripped from them because of breach of regulations in the pit stop. Halfway through, as Emanuele Busnelli runs incredibly wide there. He's done that once before, and just as track limits were an issue in qualifying, there will be as well in the race. So if he keeps doing that, then Eduardo Freitas will have one or two words to send the way of the team.
This is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. It is Alex, sorry, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, my apologies. And that is the lead battle, rather the battle for second ahead of them, because Jean Glorio is pulling away 4.8 seconds to the good now, consistently in the 129s, and setting the fastest lap on lap 4, a 128.880. Onslow-Cole now rather more urgently looking for a run by this Lamborghini. Will want to get to that lead, will feel as if he can make up ground if and when he can get there, but this is now the battle for 10th overall. So 6 of the LMP3 cars are behind this battle.
Yep.
9 ahead of them.
And slight concerns for the Cool Racing by GPC car that was rudely assaulted at turn 9. I just wonder whether that car's running not as nicely as it was set up. Alexander Khani really struggling, so maybe has that knocked the steering out of position, some tracking issue, and the 4 car, although still circulating, is now stone last behind Cedric Mezar in the number 8 SVC Sport Management Lamborghini. Nose to tail for second and third as Tony Wells takes a little look at Alvaro Fontes, more than a little look, he's gone right up the inside to take second place away for Nielsen Racing.
A very, very good move there from Tony Wells, highly experienced in small prototypes, radicals and north of that, including LMP2. And Tom Onslow-Cole looking to do an identical move. There's no room there though for Tom. So good stuff from Tony Wells, up into second position. Let's see if he can do anything about reeling in what is now a 6.5 second gap to the Norma ahead. The sole Norma in this grid, by the way.
very, very steep climb from turns 1 up to 2. The camera rather flattens it out, but it does really get very steep at the end of that climb to Remus Corner, and then it carries on getting higher as the track before you finally plateau across the top shelf of the circuit and on towards Rauch Corner. But much further round is Jean Glorieux, sharing with Alex Toril, but we don't really need the silver driver in the car at the moment. The bronze is doing a perfectly good job for this team from Luxembourg, driven by a Belgian and to be handed over to a Spaniard. So a true mix of nationalities, and DKR Engineering have taken several pole positions so far this year. Just the one win though, and that was for a little more than half points at Le Mans.
Meantime, close battle here for 4th in the GT3 class, with Limol fending off Christoph Ulrich. The number 7 Mercedes-AMG ahead of the 95 Ferrari 458, remember. This is the Wailing non-turbocharged V8 version, the old lady if you like. And meantime, Capadia there looking for a way up the inside of the number 12 car. Did he make it? Well, he's already taken the 65, he's up in the 6th, was looking for 5th there as well. He's alongside, wrong side for this turn, so he'll need to make it before they get into turn 3. And, oh, Gunswan hadn't seen the 65 had come alongside him. So Alex was looking for his line, had not realised the Graf car that he'd already overtaken and caught him back up. He's gone by the 12. He's up into 5th position.
Tremendous fight.
And the fastest lap of the race last time around from Alex Capadia. But
so not yet, well, for Alex, not yet 8 laps completed. That car started 18th. It's now in 5th place.
Correct.
Phenomenal drive from Alex then. We would expect that from a silver-graded driver. He's to hand over to Ross Warburton, who's the bronze later on. Meanwhile, it's side-by-side between the Duquesne Engineering car.
This is the 55 car. Duquesne Engineering ceding the position to the 55 Spirit race car.
So that's for 16th
place.
It is
indeed, so the battle's all the way down the order here.
Yeah.
But Sean Lynn behind after that run through the gravel dropped him back through the order. He wants to get involved as well. Here comes the 22 car, that's the other United Autosports car of Jim Maguire.
Yes, it is.
So the 2 United Autosports cars hunting in a pack.
And a chance to have a look at the number 7 Mercedes with a slightly different livery on it, I think, from Le Mans. Just an upgrade, maybe some additional sponsors for the car entered by Lee Moll and driven by Lee and Phil Keane. There's the 95 car then for Spirit of Race, the 458 of Christoph Ulrich to be handed over to Maurizio Mediani. Very quick Italian driver, as the inside there for Alex Capadia comes back again. Now, was that the N-Race car that Alex had already got by on the straight?
That was for 4th,
yes.
But it was the other way around. I mean, Alex had taken 4th, he's just lost it again.
That's right, so out of shot, Alex had got ahead of the number 99 car, the N-Race entry, for 4th place, as you say. But Alain Costa says, no, you don't, Alex, and whips the place back again at Remus Corner. But Capadia still with the N-Race machine, this red, black and white car with N-Race. Oh, the dorsal fin, and it's spun at turn 4, almost right in the face there of Alex Capadia, who had to have such quick reactions to suddenly, and the car's going to get embedded in the gravel now as well, unfortunately, because Alain Costa needed to at least apply a little bit of the throttle, too much though, unfortunately, and this might go totally the wrong way for Jean Glorieux. I don't think it'll require a full safety car, but we might go full course yellow because of that stranded N-Race Ligier right in the gravel. Let's have another look, Graham. What happened here then?
Well, very strange use of that sweep. He just lost it, didn't he? He just lost it all by himself, sweeping left-hander. And I think a little bit of oversteer there, and around it went.
Just shows, doesn't it, from Alex Capadia's position, you don't need to be making an overtake, you just need to be on the back bumper and pressurising the N-Race car.
7, 6,
and it will be a full course yellow. Here's the countdown from Eduardo.
2, 1, full course yellow. We are under full course yellow.
And what do you do if you're side by side at that point? Try and work out amongst you who was ahead at any one time, but I suppose they're all racing drivers. They're all going to think they were ahead when the yellow flag came out, the full course yellow.
Yeah, some a little later on the trigger finger than others there.
Mentioning no names.
Well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
World's slowest drag race here between the 55 and the 23. Now, where did they come through? It was the other way round, so Sean Lim believes at the end of that lap he should have been ahead. Number 99, meanwhile, he'll be cursing his luck there. You know, Alex Capadia nowhere near that. That was just He just lost it. Run out of grip.
Well, I think he was slightly offline. If you looked at Capadia's car behind, it was closer to the apex, and we all know that off the apex, away from the racing line, that's where the balls of rubber that work their way off the Michelin tyres end up. That's what we call marbles. And when you are going over effectively small stones of rubber, then there's no grip there at all. And I think the rear end just caught the marbles. It pitched very quickly into a spin, and Capadia did so well to avoid it.
Well, 15 minutes in, it's the Norma leading the race, the number 3 DK Engineering car, ahead of Tony Wells in the number 79 Nielsen Racing car. First the Ligiers, then it's the SPV Ligier, followed by Alex Capadia, starting 18th, as we were saying, and now up to 4th position. And the 12, 65 and 98 Ligiers, and 53 Ligiers, before we get into this compelling GT3 battle, and Emanuele Busnelli fending off the pro driver. There they are. Tom Onslow Cole with Flick Haig in the Optimum Motorsport car, started second on this GT3 grid, just behind. That is the order down to 11th in this 21 car grid, and only the 99 at the moment not running, and that's because it's sitting in the gravel trap.
Yeah, so a real shame for the N-Race crew. A reminder of what happened at the start of the race, and you're right, that is the 33 car trying to slot up the inside. Everyone doing so well to avoid, and Alex Capadia needing to go very wide on the exit of turn 1. There's normally an exception as far as track limits are concerned for the first run through turn 1, because it is such a pinch point and you've got cars attacking turn 1 from 3 and 4 abreast, so often to avoid contact there's very little option but to go out wide, and that's the reason why there is so much runoff out there. It's quite high grip, painted in the colours of the Austrian flag, and there are, well, one race leader, one class leader, and there is the other, the gold and dark blue. Looks black, but if you get up close to the Lambo, you'll see it's a much deeper royal blue, navy blue, on the EB Motors Lamborghini Huracan.
At 16:18 in 30 seconds, track is going back to green.
So a relatively short full course yellow to get the number 99 car recovered.
Great work for the marshals there. And
yes.
We're very soon going to hear another countdown
from Eduardo Freitas, and 15 seconds he tells them. Now, has Alain Costa's car been put back on the track? I would assume not, because it's now been given outside assistance. We will wait and see on that.
3, 2, 1, green. Track is back to green.
Now, Tom Onslow Cole, very alert to the restart, and he has jumped right ahead of Emanuele Busnelli. That was under green flags, no question about it. That's why all the drivers individually get a countdown in their earpieces, and the number 5 Ram Racing Mercedes takes the GT3 lead. Busnelli has slotted into, or managed to fend off, Flick Haig, so he then goes into second position, Flick Haig in third position, but there's very nearly a chance for Flick to jump ahead of the number 46 Lamborghini Huracan.
99 car, meanwhile, has got back to pit lane, will be allowed to continue this race, has taken new tyres. There's a relative rockery across the pit lane here. So Cole now, his catch and pass task becomes gap the Lamborghini. Give Ramon Vos an opportunity to defend a lead.
Well, Busnelli is not going to allow Tom Onslow Cole a lead easily here. The two cars, Mercedes versus Lamborghini, more or less nose to tail as they head through Wurst Alpine. That's the left and right chicane, and then over the rise into Rindt corner. Careful to take, well, a bit of curb on the entry there. On the exit, you need to be neat and tidy, because several cars have been done for track limits there, as they have on the exit of turn 9 itself. But new GT3 leader for the first time across the line, so confirming the Tom Onslow Cole Ram Racing Mercedes in 9th place overall and the GT3 leader.
But meantime, there's been a big mix-up as well in the overall order. Number 1, so the number 3 car's now got a 12-second lead from a new second-place car, because Alex Capadia from 4th at that restart managed to get the number 14 RLRM Sport car up into 2nd position overall from 18th at the start of this race. But he's 12.7 seconds back from the Norma. So it's Glorio Capadia, Tony Wells, and Maritiotto now in 4th position. So that was, well, by the sound of things, a spectacular restart in both classes. We saw the GT3 battle resolved, at that point at least, with Well, no doubt in my mind whatsoever, there was a clean restart from Tom Onslow Cole.
Yep.
We were hearing the countdown, and it went to green, and away he went.
The one thing he can't do is build much of a gap on Emanuele Busnelli. Now, bear in mind, Busnelli is a bronze-graded driver, but to have a gold ahead of him in the form of Tom Onslow Cole, increased in the grading for this season, moved from silver to gold. And if Busnelli can stick with Tom Onslow Cole, he might learn a thing or two about this Red Bull Ring track. And remember, at the end of the stint, Busnelli's handing over to Fabio Babini, another gold driver and massively experienced in Lamborghini Huracans. Big spin at turn 8, that's the 98 and the 4? No, it might have been the 4, there was a car nearby.
That's the YMR car.
The 53 then, of Nathan Biel. And that was Eric de Donker, wasn't it, in the 98 car?
It is indeed. We'd also seen the fastest lap of the race this time go to the second place car of Alex Kapadia. He's got that 12.7 second lead down to 11 seconds now. He's going quicker again with clear air in front of him again. So Alex Kapadia pushing on. Tom Onslow Cole, meanwhile, is speeding up as well, but he's taking the Lamborghini with him. This is an exceptional run from Busnelli, the non-professional driver, let's remember, keeping the AMG very much in his sights.
And by the way, the YMR car, the M Racing YMR car, rejoined right ahead of the Motorsport 98. They're both still on the track, just heading into turn 5 now. And they are the next cars potentially that these GT3 machines will find, but they're going just about quick enough to keep their heads above water and away from this frenetic GT battle. So Tom Onslow Cole, Emanuele Busnelli and Flick Haig hanging on to their coattails in the still early stages of this race. We've just had over 20 minutes of it, and there are warning flags now. Oh, going the way of Alex Kapadia.
That's for that side-to-side contact with the 65 car into turn 3 when he was battling away with the car ahead and simply had not noticed, I don't think, the Graf Racing car had just overtaken, had stuck with him and got alongside, looking for the wide line around turn 3. So, for me, correct call from race control.
Yep.
Alex was looking at one position, he'd forgotten about the other for that moment. Tom Onslow Cole is beginning to gap that Lamborghini all of a sudden.
Only because Busnelli made a mistake on the exit of turn 9, went way out wide, and as you say, the gap's now increased from first to second, but this might be Flick Haig's opportunity, because Busnelli probably closest than he's been for the whole of the race. And Flick Haig may be able to shape that into an overtaking opportunity in the next couple of laps.
It's another fastest lap of the race last time around from Alex Kapadia. 10.8 seconds is the gap. So he's taken a couple of seconds out of that lead since we went back to green. With the whatever happened going back to green, the Norma profited to the tune of something like 6 seconds. He's grabbed 2 of those back, but then there's another 6 after that.
Sean Lynn also trying to find some positions. He was a little while ago right with his teammate Jim Maguire, who is down in 18th position, but Sean Lynn's got back up to 13th spot now, and I make it 10th in class behind these 3 GTs effectively as we work our way towards the end of the first half an hour. 2-hour race, remember, for the 3rd event of the year for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, live from the Red Bull Ring here in Austria. It's Tom Onslow Cole leading for Ram Racing in GT, so let's hear from his teammate Raymond Vos, who's now with Charlie George in the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm down here with Raymond. You guys have gone for an interesting strategy, and so far it seems to be paying off.
Yes, yeah, so far it's so good. We decided to put Tom in the car to start after me doing the qualification, and we started from 3rd position. Yeah, let's see if this works. So far so good. It's quite exciting.
Now, of course, that means you'll be out with some of the pro drivers later. Are you looking forward to that?
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to that a lot. Yes, indeed, yeah. Can't wait.
Good luck, thank you
so much.
Yeah, Raymond Vos, a real star in the Imola 12 hours towards the end of June, and that's run across 2 days, 4 hours on the Friday and 8 hours on the Saturday, and a terrific defensive drive that meant that he was able to hang on in the end for a 3rd place finish in the overall standings, GT3 being the top class in that race. It's not in this, but nevertheless it could be a class podium that these guys could be on for, but Tom Onslow Cole wants a bit more clear air if possible, back to Emanuele Busnelli in the EB Motos Lambo.
So the gap, just to kind of clarify that, obviously we've got Tom Onslow Cole leading the class, 9th overall, But the podium positions at the moment, hands of the 9th, 10th, 11th place cars, and they are something like, what, 25 seconds ahead of the 4th place car at the moment in the hands of Lee Mole. He's managed to pull away a little from the Ferrari of Christoph Ulrich. But, all sorts of action underway on track, as well as, by the look of things, in race control with a further investigation, this time for possible overtakes under the full course yellow from both the 23 Gulf United car and the number 9.
By the way, the 99 car's made its way back to the pits, and has it actually rejoined?
It's rejoined, it's a lap down, but it's rejoined.
So
2 laps down, in fact.
A minute and 40 seconds it spent in the pits, but at least the 99 car, the N-Race machine that spun at the gravel at turn 4, is back into the race. This is the dice for 4th and 5th, with the 65 car, which is the Graf machine in the traditional French tricolour colours, hounding Marcello Marattiotto for SVC Sport Management. And just across the brow there is the pole position car, having slipped to 6th place now, driven by Alvaro Fontes.
I think that must have had some kind of incident on the restart, because it's dropped right back.
Yeah.
Meantime, as these two battle away for the opportunity to be the next most likely, if any, the current provisional podium sitters stumble. By the front of the race, another quick lap from Capadia brings the gap under 10 seconds now. He's got at least half an hour still to the wheel of this car. This could get close towards the end of this stint. It could be very interesting indeed, with Ross Warburton still to come. It's very much a training ground for some of these bronze drivers, and Ross had his got a go at the European Le Mans Series last year. He felt he was going to be more comfortable in the professional hands of Alex Capadia, who is his driver, coach and co-driver here. Having a crack at this before looking again in the future at the LMS. And it's exactly that kind of effort. We look at the weather radar.
Now then, looking for Zeltweg or Knittelfeld on that map to try and work out how far away the weather is. This track technically in Spielberg, but Knittelfeld, a very nearby village, as is of course the old venue for the Formula 1 Grand Prix at Zeltweg, at the bottom of the valley at the airport, round the airport. Here comes the 95 then of Christoph Ulrich to try and pick off Lee Mole in the braking area into turn 2 at Remus. Lee Mole can't turn in, although a bit of the outside-inside trick maybe. What's the acceleration like from that 6.2 litre Mercedes engine? Nothing like the aged now 4.5 litre, normally aspirated in the middle of the Ferrari, and the Ferrari able to pull away out of Remus and down towards Rauch corner. And I think Lee Mole's going to lose another position here. Has he seen the P3 car? I hope so. Lock-up required for the driver of the number 9 Duquesne engineering machine. That's Joel Janko, the American. And Janko very nearly into the side of Lee Mole there as they turn right at Rauch corner. Disaster averted though. And further pressure for the SVC Sport Management car, because Adrian Schiller, driving for Graf, still right on the boot lid of the 4th place car.
The progress in 2nd place, it's now 8.5 seconds, Alex Capadia. Another fastest lap of the race for the number 14 car, 1:28 to 2:84, but does get a warning for track limits. So race controller keeping an eye on Alex Capadia's progress. This is the weather radar as well. There's Salzburg. That is not, there's Klagenfurt in the middle of the picture.
Okay, so that's, if
anything. There you go. We're looking at the clouds that live that they're looking at virtually, if you like. Could this be a real turn in this race? We did say, didn't we, it might turn, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was going to.
Yeah, and I mean, the problem is, if it does rain, I don't think it's going to be a light shower either, because of the stormy atmosphere that we've had all week. There is a chance that the heavens are going to absolutely open here, and we'll be left with standing water and the possibility maybe of a safety car as well because of the wet weather. But it remains very, very warm at the moment. The weather hasn't yet broken, and we'll carry on racing until it does, but it will remain a bit of a question mark. Slow car, that's the Duquesne machine, isn't it? The number 9 of Joel Janko. Has he flat spotted a tyre maybe with that big lock up into Rauch corner to avoid Lee Mole not so long ago?
It's a good call, Johnny.
22 is the car of Jim Maguire. He shares with Matt Bell. So that car has gained a spot as a result of the slowing Duquesne engineering car then. That gives him 12th in class and 17th overall. And back with the race leader for DKR Engineering, I should say, Jean Glorieux.
He's with Jim Maguire, I think that was ahead of him. So he's in the process of getting on terms to lap the 17th place car.
We're going to catch up in a moment with the teammate of Alvaro Fontes. Did a splendid job in qualifying earlier on this morning, and sharing with him is the Brit Andrew Cummings in the number 44 car with Charlie now.
Yeah, I'm down here with Andrew. Andrew, Alvaro had a great qualifying. He seems to be slipping back slightly since the restart. Is there any problem?
No, I don't think there's any problems. There's a couple of quicker drivers out there initially. I think he'll shake up a bit in the pit stops, but yeah, I think he's going well with the car. There's no problems to be reported. So
now, obviously, the car has definitely got the pace. So, are you looking forward to getting out there and having your turn?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
Thank you. Good luck.
Andrew Cummings sharing, as I say, with Fontes. Meanwhile, the battling continues for 4th place.
And that was after you, Claude, and I know after you, Cedric, between the set 12 and the 65. Maritiotto losing the place briefly to Chila, but then the Grafman running wide and the over and under played to perfection. The 12th car retaking the position. And on we go again.
Yeah, well, I think we've reached a point where the Graf car is slightly quicker at certain points of the circuit, including this run from turn 2 down to turn 3. Well, it only becomes downhill at the very last possible moment. Oh, and trying to then unleash the power from the loud pedal was the 65 car, but had to immediately check up, did Adrian Schiller, and that means the opportunity's gone, at least briefly, down into turn 4. It's the SVC car, for whatever reason, struggled for traction and grip out of turn 3 at Rauch, so Marcello Maritiotto stays in 4th position. They're losing touch with Tony Wells in 3rd, and with Alex Capadia, who continues to whittle away at that lead. It's down to 9.5 seconds now, although he's lapping really at a similar pace to Jean Glorieux. Traffic might have its say though, because Glorieux, as you've mentioned, Graham, is now starting to catch some of the back markers.
Yeah, absolutely right. And traffic is, I'm sure, going to come into this. Flick Haig, meanwhile, has got a train of LMP3 cars behind now. She's dropped back a little from the Lamborghini, which has dropped back a little from Tom Onslow Cole. This is the 33, 23 and 55 battling away. And this is Ibran, Sean Lynn, Zdanovic, and a spin for the 12 car.
From 4th place, so that will make the change then for 4th position with the Graf car. Now, where's the Graf car gone?
Way up, well up the road, I think. Oh, is it? Let's have a look here. There goes the Graf car up the inside.
Yes, it does. And
he's gone straight on.
I wonder whether that had happened somehow. And there was then a spin for the 12, which nearly cleaned out the number 8 Lamborghini Huracan. And I noticed that the orange Lamborghini and the 44 car were absolutely nose to tail on the run up the hill. They did make contact, in fact. Blimey, so all sorts happening there, and thankfully contact avoided with the spinning 12 that nearly took out the 8 car that's driven by Cedric Mezard, but then Mezard to the side of Alvaro Fontes. Good job we weren't chatting to Andrew Cummings when that happened, but the 44 car all of a sudden is back to 4th place.
It is, and that's Joel Janko, who doesn't seem a very happy man at all. The Ligier number 9 onto pit lane. I don't think is going to rejoin the race.
Now, rain is on the way, but my weather app would say that it's not going to get to us by 6 o'clock. 7 maybe, some isolated thunderstorms, but the suggestion is that the weather, although it is in our direction, isn't going to quite reach us by the end of the race. So if you interview various people up and down the pit lane, there'll be many, many different opinions about that, so we'll wait and see.
Indeed. Flick Haig, by the way, has given best to those trailing LMP3 cars, dropped back behind Ibran and Sean Lynn. I think they're going to position for Zdanovic as well.
Good time there from Adrian Schiller in the 65 car. That's now a recovery drive for the Graf car, having totally outbraked himself into the first corner. Tom Onslow Cole a little bit on his own now, leading the GT3 part of the race, 9th position overall, and now that he is on his own, not having to keep an eye on the rear view mirrors because of Busnelli, he's just done the car's best lap of the race, his best lap of the race indeed, a 1:30.7.
And that's 5.5 seconds now up the road from the Lamborghini. Glorieux, meanwhile, has just cleared the number 95 Ferrari, so he's passed everybody up to 14th. 14th place is his next target. That might well be Flick Haig now. We'll keep an eye on that. It's currently shown on towing and scoring as being a position ahead of the Ligier 55. So it's not that far. This is the new battle for 4th position, Fontes and Cilia.
Yeah. And of course, the Graf car is kind of in exactly the same position. 5th place, trying to get 4th. It's just that it's a totally different car. One from up the inside again. Hopefully, Cilia will get it stopped this time, which he does indeed. So the 65 car turns right at the right moment at turn 1. And now, Alvaro Fontes trying to stick with Cilia for as long as possible, using the draft up the hill. Can the 44 repay the favour at the top of the hill? Not going to be quite close enough. And in the background, looming larger and larger, Nathan Biel, another Frenchman, in the M Racing YMR Ligier. That's the sky blue coloured car from Ivan Muller Racing.
But he's just got a black and white flag, as is Eric de Donker. For that contact at turn 9, we saw spin both cars out, drop them back down the order, but this could be a good little battle, I think. The 65 and the 44, the 65 seems just at the pace at the moment. What's going on at the front, the race ahead of them though. Alex Kapadia, 7.3 seconds now, and is catching the leader.
Meanwhile, the Motorsport 98 car still in 8th position with Eric de Donker at the wheel, able to lap just quick enough to stay ahead of Tom Onslow-Cole and Emanuele Busnelli. Behind those two GT3 leaders, Flick Haig's lost a little bit of ground now, has between her and the 2nd place GT3 car 2 P3s, one of Sean Lynn and one is Javier Ibram. Meanwhile, it's side by side with the 98 car, 99 car rather, that's the recovering N race, isn't it? So a lap down, picking off the 33.
33's got Sean Lynn just behind. That is the battle for 11th position overall, 9th position in class.
And a much tidier line that time through turn 4.
Got him. There's a bit of a flutter through the turn from the number 33 car. Sean Lynn saw the gap ahead and didn't need a second invitation.
Yep, so the predominantly white cars then exchanging positions, and Sean Lynn up another spot then, 23 past 33. More good sector times coming in from Tom Onslow-Cole, and Nathan Biel now in the 53 car. He's got a bit of a carrot to chase there in the form of Alvaro Fontes, so upping the wick, and the 128.7 is the best lap so far from Biel at the wheel of car 53. From Nielsen Racing, the man known as Sven, looking at the times coming through on the smartphone. And the first car to complete 24 laps, Jean Glorieux, as it's been from the start of the race. Jean Glorieux getting quickly the lead and now extending this gap to 7.6 seconds. So it is starting to come down now. Alex Kapadia has gained a couple of seconds over the last 5 minutes. And Kapadia obviously running a little short now of his stint time. We have got another 22 minutes to go within this hour. And Alex can stay at the wheel for, well, each driver has to do a minimum of 55 minutes each. So those guys at RLR have to get their co-driver in with 55 minutes left in the race.
And Nathan Biel making progress up towards the rear end of the number 44, the SPV car of Alvaro Fontes. This is the battle for 5th position now. So a bit of a topsy-turvy first 40 minutes for the pole-setting car. It's led, it's tumbled down, it's come back, it's tumbling down a little further now. But still a good position here for SPV Racing. I'll be still pleased with that. Tom Onslow-Cole, by the way, 9 seconds to the good now over the Lamborghini. Is that pressure beginning to tell?
Meanwhile, the 9 car, I think we reported on that, stopping a little while ago and hasn't re-emerged yet. We had another pit stopper out of sequence because of the spin into the gravel for Alain Costa. and the 99 car is still running, as we've talked about. Now, this is Nathan Biel, is it not, in the 53 car? Yes, having caught Alvaro Fontes, silver-graded driver Nathan Biel, so they started with their slightly quicker driver to be handed over to Laurent Millara later on in the race, but 53 needing to make strides up against a number of other bronze drivers, of which Alvaro Fontes is one. So Nathan Biel, is he going to make quick work of this? No, because there was some defensive driving there from Alvaro Fontes into turn one, feeling the heat then from the M Racing YMR car, a livery you will recognise from the European Le Mans series. The 18 car looks very much like this, the 19 car looks very different in its bare carbon in ELMS, but good to have another YMR car as part of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. And Nathan Biel, slightly better exit speed, as the legality panel on the rear right of that 44 car is a little askew, maybe bearing signs of some damage on the 44 car. That was the car that sideswiped the 8, wasn't it? The 8 Lamborghini, so that's probably been caused in that incident. An hour and 20 to go, and Biel gets close, but not close enough to make the move into turn 3.
We've been seeing these battles from the off. 2, 3 and 4 cars involved in both classes. This is the battle for 5th. Alvaro Fontes fending off, fending off, fending off, heading for the midway point of this race, with the pit window. What is that now, Johnny? 14 minutes away?
Yeah, it'll...
way wide from the
Biel
car.
Yeah, Nathan Biel in the 53 car, and a new fastest lap of the race comes from Alex Capadia in second position, and he is on fire here because he's just gone even quicker through sector 1 as well. 7.3 seconds is the gap, so he, well, brought it down. What is the time? It's in purple and a little way away from me.
1:28.153 from Alex. That's
0.8 of a second gain on a single lap there.
It is. It is. It's been a little bit up and down, but I suspect that's because they're now in traffic. And as are these cars going to be very soon. It's the Lee Mole car ahead. This is Alex Capadia.
Yeah.
His job is very simple. Make up as much time as you possibly can. If you can catch the Norma, more to the good.
But yes, to answer your question, the pit lane window effectively opening at 5 minutes to the hour, wherever you are in the world, as the Busnelli Lamborghini went very, very wide. Saw Matt Griffin do that in the ELMS qualifying session earlier on today, and the 55 Ferrari did incredibly well, did Busnelli, to hang on to that and not loop the Lamborghini. So that car stays in second position, but of course it's opened the gap further now to Tom Onslow-Cole, who leads it.
Trouble meanwhile for the number 23 car, 10th overall, 9th in class. Sean Lynn is going to get a drive-through penalty for an overtake under the full course yellow. So too, by the way, is the number 9 car, the Decane Engineering car, but that car is in pit lane and does not look like rejoining this race. So the overtake under full course yellow, and the gap for the lead with traffic is coming down, and coming down very quickly indeed. It's now 5.5 seconds. Just seen Jean Glorieux clear Flick Haig, so he's now passed everybody up to 14th. But with that traffic, Alex Capadia has taken the opportunity to close in. Meanwhile, Maratiotti in the number 12 car, running 7th, has been reported to the stewards for constant abuse of track limits. That may be a first penalty coming there.
Yeah, just a word on the Sean Lynn incident. The full course yellow regulations stipulate you can't be overlapping another car, so you might not even overtake it, as in go fully past it, but you can't be side by side with anybody. The point of a full course yellow is to generate a safe environment for the marshals to step down from their posts and go and help out a car in the gravel, or having been, had a moment and end up off the track. So if you've got cars coming round 2 abreast, that is still a dangerous situation, regardless of them being speed limited. And the thing is, you don't really gain a great deal. If you just tuck in behind another car, you're still going to be right with it come the restart.
Glorieux clears the gantry halfway down the start-finish straight as Capadia comes onto the start-finish straight. He's looking for a way by Flick Haig quickly. They come through turn 1. Flick Haig actually just flicks it slightly wide, goes to the outside, allows Alex Capadia the room. Through he goes. And for the first time in this race, and that, by the way, was the fastest lap of the race, and the first lap under 1:28. For the first time in this race over the last couple of laps, the gap now under the point it was when we went to full course yellow. 5.1 seconds now and 1 car between the two.
Tremendous stuff in the opening 45 minutes of this race then, as Jean Glorieux continues to gain time, which could prove pivotal later on in the race. Alex Kapadia giving it his all. We don't expect that 14 car to be as quick in the second stint, but remember that the 79 car, which is running third, and a tremendous third with Tony Wells at the wheel, will be taken over by Colin Noble in the second stint, and Colin is very fast, so that's possibly the strongest contender for taking victory if it's not to be the 3. Another great time from Alex Kapadia. He's now somewhere in the third sector and about to come round. 4.2 seconds now is the gap, and about to put 29 laps in the book, so he's even quicker.
Took a second out of the leading car in a single sector there. So now beginning to get that hammer down. The clock is ticking away with his time at the wheel. It's 3.8 seconds now. So that's, what is that? That is a further 1.2 seconds this time around. Sean Lynn takes his drive-through, takes the pain, will rejoin. Little wait, he was 9th, wasn't he, when he came in? He leaves the pit lane. I think he's going to slot in somewhere around 13th or 14th in the order, as the YMR car again looks at the back end of the 44. Is there going to be room here?
Nathan Biel up the inside then of Fontes. Is he going to run out wide though?
No.
On the exit of turn 1, he doesn't get the ideal pace, and the two cars are going to be side by side up the hill here. Biel's not really giving him much racing room, but just enough wide to get the 44 Ligier up alongside. Of course, the next corner is a right-hander, so Alvaro Fontes will take the place back again, surely. Yes, he does.
Excellent stuff from Fontes there. Wasn't bossed out of that in any way whatsoever. I'm sure if they're watching that down in the pits, they'll be cheering that one on. But this is a great battle between these two cars.
And you could argue that Fontes punching a little above his weight here up against a silver driver. He's the bronze in the yellow car. The silver is Nathan Biel, Spaniard against Frenchman. And Andrew Cummings to come in the 44. Laurent Millara will be the new driver in the 53 once we reach the pit lane window, effectively, that opens at 55 minutes into the race and closes at 65 minutes.
But before that, we're going to see somebody else down pit lane, because after that black and white flag, there's been a further infringement of track limits for the number 2, the 12 car, 7th position from Maritiotto, and he has got a stop and go penalty for constant abuse of track limits. You're seeing that on the screens now. So the number 12 car will be down pit lane.
Okay, so that's another one that will have to take the 21-second journey from pit in to pit out. Remember, it doesn't cost you all of that time because you are still moving. It's just that you're moving at 60 kilometres per hour as opposed to flat chat, which is significantly faster down the main straight here at Red Bull Ring.
Sean Lynn, by the way, did re-emerge in 14th position. The stop-go is being taken immediately by the 12.
With the best bet just to bite the bullet and take the medicine, and then come out and see where you can recover the race to. Obviously the 23's dropped a long way down the order now as a result of its drive through. Sean Lynn in 14th position, and here comes the Maritiotto car. Marcello taking his drive through now then. Marco Cencetti, his second meeting of the year. It wasn't at Monza for his home race, but did do both races at Le Mans, and Cencetti set to take over the 12 car.
So now dealing with traffic, the number 65 car would love to be up the road and challenging Tony Wells, who's 11 seconds to the good from this little battle. But before he can do that, he's got a gaggle of cars ahead of him, including the 95 Ferrari. Jim Maguire's 23 car. What's happening ahead in the lead battle? It's, well, I think a little bit of traffic involved here. It went down to 2.6 seconds, back up to 3.4 now for the lead battle. A little way ahead of these guys on track. Here comes the 65 car, clears Jim Maguire's 23. 44 and 53 are going to have to deal with this next.
So this is the Graf car that currently sits in 4th position. 5th place for the SPV car, the yellow machine, then the blue and white of Nathan Biel from M Racing. That car is 6th, and they're trying to lap number 95, which is 4th place in GT3, and 15th position on the road.
Cedric Mezard makes that nice and easy for them. He's Fourth in GT3, as you say, and somewhere ahead now, 14 seconds ahead now of Limol. As Fontes gets by the 23, being followed through by the Weimar car.
Ooh, gets a bit tight there. I did wonder whether that the two had seen each other, and the 22 car thankfully at the last moment saw that Nathan Biel had the inside line, had the racing line, and the 22 car, nice bit of avoiding driving there from Jim Maguire. He'll hand that car over to Matt Bell come the pit stops, which are now just 5 minutes away potentially, although the teams that have started with their quicker drivers, they'll push it to the very last moment in the pit window. So 53, Nathan Biel coming down the hill, should get a great run this time on Alvaro Fontes, much better run through that hard compression corner, and the gap is definitely coming down between 44 and 53. Meanwhile, coming through the right-hander at Rauch corner is the class leader in GT3, the Ram Racing Mercedes AMG, driven by Tom Onslow Cole, expecting him to go another, well, at least 10 minutes before Raymond Vos takes over. The man from the Netherlands, big grin on his face when we spoke to him a little earlier on the race. Charlie George catching up with him as rejoining from a recent pit stop.
I'm not sure that's his pit stop. I think that was a spin. Turn one from Jim Maguire.
Okay, so the 22 car then with an incident, as Nathan Biel did get a great run on the 44. Biel got through. Did they both manage to squirrel their way out of turn one? Yes, but in the background, swapping ends was Jim Maguire. Did he catch the sausage curb? No, he was already losing it, and then the sausage curb kind of helped him round right in front of Christoph Ulrich in the 95 car, but Ulrich did a good bit of avoiding driving there as well to retain fourth place in GT3.
Drivers getting ready now for those pit stops. So
this another flashpoint in the race. Another message from race control about car 53 needing to respect the track limits at turn 9. So a black and white warning flag, just a yellow flag at this, yellow card we might call it at this stage for Nathan Biel, but if it gets any more serious it might result in time penalties.
But another warning for the number 12 of Maratiotti, who's already had a stop and hold.
Oh dear, okay. Well, it really does get severe after that.
And it's been reported to the stewards.
Okay, so car 12, as you say, has already served. Yes, it was more than a drive-through, wasn't it? Because the car was held for 10 seconds-ish for Marcello Marattiotto.
Yep.
So it takes about 21 seconds to go through the pit lane from start to finish at 60 kilometres per hour. Tony Wells there with an absolute best through sector 1. Better than Alex Kapadia, and he's the bronze driver, is Tony.
Absolutely. Alex Kapadia slightly struggling for ultimate pace at the moment. We've not seen that battle together. Look at the SPV pits trolley. Jean Glorieux bringing this one closer and closer. There you go, there's the two leaders. Glorieux coming through turn 10 as Alex Kapadia makes his way through turn 9. They finish their lap 34. And the gap is 4.1 seconds. So at the moment, Glorieux doing a good job of fending off the pro driver.
Worth making the point that Tony Wells will need lots more absolute best sectors to reel in Alex Kapadia, certainly anywhere close to happening before the pit stops. However,
took a couple of tenths out of him that time, though.
Yeah. However, of course, Colin Noble due in that 79 Nielsen Racing Ligier. Ross Warburton due in the 14 car, so we'll have a Noble chasing down Ross Warburton and trying to close that gap, which currently stands at 17 seconds.
The leader held up a little there by backmarker. I think that's the 99 car, isn't it? Recovering 99 car.
Yep, from N Race.
It's a 1 minute stop and go penalty for car number 12 after that to repeated track limits.
Yeah, and any chance of a good result steadily slipping through their fingers. Remember that car, the number 12, started in a decent spot, 8th place for SVC Sport Management when it was qualified by Marattiotto today, and Marco Cencetti to take over at the pit stop.
Thought the leader had been caught up a little in turn 3 by the number 99 car. It lost a full second in the second sector. Gap has come down to 3.4 seconds.
Nathan Biel still cannot shake Alvaro Fontes. He's now made the move stick, finally. There's confirmation of this 1 minute stop and go penalty then for the number 12 car from SVC. Don't get that mixed up with the SPV car. There's lots of 3-letter abbreviations in this championship. And SPV is the yellow car there that pursues Nathan Biel as they work their way out of Vorst Alpine corner, over the rise and then into turn 8 at Rindt. An hour and 5 and 35 seconds to go, so in a little over half a minute the pit lane will be open for a legitimate pit stop. We've seen plenty of pit lane callers already. In fact, there's a car waiting there now. That will be Marcello Marattiotto serving the 1 minute stop and go penalty.
He's going to drop him way out of contention. That effectively is a lap with a minute plus the time in pit lane.
Yeah, good point.
Some good lap times coming in as the cars get a little lighter on fuel. Danovic in the number 55 car up into 10th position. Guanyi in the number 4 car in 14th, both putting in fastest laps of their race so far, as we're under 65 minutes now.
Marattiotto back on the move. We're not going to see the Duquesne engineering car again, so we're down to 20 runners, but Marattiotto now rejoins. Might actually only do a lap, and then straight back in again. Probably by far had enough of this race already. The 44 car ran a little bit wide there on the exit of Rauch corner. Kicking up the dust was Alvaro Fontes. Remember, Andrew Cummings will be prepping himself to take over at SPV very, very shortly.
Well, I'm going to vote for the number 44 car, and Alvaro Fontes has been the most entertaining drive of the first half of this race.
Yes.
In comes first pit caller, looks to be the second position car in GT3, Emanuele Busnelli. He pits, dropping back somewhat in the latter parts of the stint, and it will be the changeover.
Fabio Bobini. So now the fun really will start, because Fabio is going to be strapped into a car he knows very, very well, the GT3 specification of Lamborghini Huracan. It's a shame we can't see Bobini up against Tom Onslow-Cole. We might be able to see that for a little bit of the race, but they'll be far away from each other now, because one will have stopped, one won't have done, and Tom Onslow-Cole we're expecting in at some point over the next 8.5 minutes. Meanwhile, Flick Haig right behind the Graf car into Remus corner. The Graf car is number 65, being driven by Adrian Schiller.
Lee Mole into pit lane. This will be Phil Keane aboard the number 7 car in moments. No doubt Flick Haig will be in very soon indeed to pass the car over, the Optimum Audi over to Joe Osborne.
Although I think Optimum tend to cut the cake pretty much 50-50, don't they?
They tend to give Flick a lot of time in that car, which is great to see.
Yeah, and
Phil Keane.
They almost won the race at Monza a couple of months ago. Had a dreadful Le Mans with their 2 55-minute races not going the way they would have wished, but in a good position at the moment, and a rapid Joe Osborne to take his turn very shortly. Phil Keane then is now being strapped into the number 7 Mercedes AMG, and down at the 8 crew, SVC Sport Management. Remember, SVC running a couple of cars here, and the Lamborghini Huracan making its stop. So Cedric Mézard to get out and Stevie S to clamber on board.
So the second phase begins for the Mercedes, number 7 car.
Very, very busy now in the pit lane, with Adrian Schiller in, Alvaro Fontes in the 44 car. That's the car trundling its way now down pit lane. Also making a stop, Javier Ibram in the 33, Claudio Zdanovic. Sean Lynn is in again for his second pit lane call, but this is the proper stop for the 23 United Autosports car, and Flick Haig, as we've mentioned, to hand over now to Joe Osborne. The
2 class leaders together, and that's Jean Glorieux going by Tom Onslow-Cole, so he's passed everybody up to 8th position now. Alex Capadia, meanwhile, is within 3 seconds of this, with just the Mercedes between the two. Onslow-Cole stays out, and I think will stretch the envelope as much as he possibly can. In though comes Capadia from 2nd position, and a great drive from Alex.
Yes, tremendous effort, and remember, he's doing the European Le Mans Series race as well.
Greedy, I call it.
Yeah, I would agree. For the Darwin-based crew in Lancashire, RLR, and to hand over then to Ross Warburton. Obviously, part of Alex Capadia's job description is to be a driver mentor and coach for Ross as well. And as Graham's mentioned, Ross was part of the ELMS for some of the rounds last year, but they've decided to take this step sideways as far as the championships are concerned into the Michelin Le Mans Cup, just so that Ross can learn the LMP3 a little better. There is Ross standing to driver's right of the car, and the crew's able to clear the windscreen whilst the fuel is going in, maybe recover a little bit of debris from the dive planes, front left, front right, but what you can't do is change the driver or change the wheels whilst the fuel is going in.
So from back in the UK, a team from Lancashire, a bloke called Warburton. Is it anything to do with the bread people? Yes, it is. He is indeed part of the Warburton's bread family and still very much part of the company. Senior executive with that bakery. A very keen race enthusiast as well. Through comes Jean Glorieux, though. He will put a lap, for the moment at least, on the RLR car.
And that means that Thomas Locol's now up to third place, I reckon, in the overall standings, because he has 2 pit-stopping cars ahead of him.
Indeed.
Being shown as 5th on the timing screen.
He's a lap down, that's why. He's a lap down.
Beg your pardon.
Yeah, so Nico Biel, though, does go through to second, but owes us a pit stop. Ross Warburton about to be released, just counting down. We need to keep an eye on these pit stop times, by the way. Remember, 2 minutes is the bogey time.
Looking to see where Tom Onslow Cole is around the circuit. He is now third, yes, because he's gained those laps back again, and driving car number 5, just going across the top section now between turns 2 and 3, and still happy to stay out.
Nico Biel does come in from second position now, though, so we've got very few cars owing us a pit stop. Jean Glorieux carries on in the lead of the race. Tom Onslow Cole still carries on. And we have to go all the way out to the top 10 before we find anybody else that's still continuing on this run. Driver identification on the Lamborghini still showing Busnelli at the wheel. We know that's...
Won't be the case. Shouldn't be the case anyway, despite, yeah, it's had a one stop, 2 minutes and 5 seconds, which is fine, and should therefore have Fabio Babini at the wheel. We did see the new driver get in as well, so I think that's actually a glitch with the driver ID dial, which needs to be clicked into position. I hope they're not penalised for that.
Glorieux does pit now from the lead.
And Tom Onslow Cole may well stay out. Let's have a look. Yes, he has, because he's just heading into turn 1 now, so Tom Onslow Cole leads the race.
No, he needs to complete this lap.
He needs to go do one more lap, okay.
But will lead the race if he doesn't pit.
Yes.
And I think can still do that.
Okay, let's find out what the order is at this section, this split. It's up to second place. Jean Glorieux, though, as you say, had put a lap on him when we saw that happen down into Rint Corner. So, yes, car 5, a GT3 car. But nevertheless, it's now running second in the overall standings because it hasn't pitted yet. And bear in mind, that car has to break the beam at the start of the pit lane before 65 minutes have elapsed. He can't afford to go around again, I would suggest, just in case there's something like as errant as a full course yellow. Just need to leave a little bit of time in reserve, and Raymond Vos will certainly be suited and booted. Meanwhile, the pit stop for DKR Engineering, the Luxembourg crew, seems to be going pretty well, with Jean Glorieux, a fabulous drive from the Belgian, as we've come to expect, and Alex Toril to take that car over. So if you think the Norman, I should say, has gone rapidly already, the M30, Alex Toril threatening to drive it even faster, judging by his pace at Le Mans. And here comes Tom Onslow Cole, so they do decide to do it this time around. They've been really daring. He probably could have squeezed an extra lap out of it, but Tom Onslow Cole decides to come down. I'm sure Dan Shuttlebottom will have had a say on this as well, from Ram Racing, so pitting from second position. And the 2 leaders of this race will be stopped on the pit lane apron briefly. That means that Ross Warburton now up to third position in the 14 car.
I think there's going to be trouble, though, for the RLR M Sport team.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm afraid, as they did at Le Mans,
yes,
they've miscalculated that pit stop time by the look of it. It's 1:57. It should be a 2-minute bogey time, I'm pretty sure here.
Yes, these pit stops are done to a minimum reference time to make sure that the jobs that have to be done by the team members aren't overly rushed. It's not like Le Mans where you can gain time necessarily in a pit stop. You can certainly lose time, but your pit stop has to be a minimum of 2 minutes. And as you say, that's 1 minute and 57 seconds from pit in to pit out. How frustrating for Alex Capardia after a tremendous drive, and for Ross Warburton, who's just taken the car over. Here is Ram Racing's pit stop then. Getting some helping hands, it looked like, from another team there, or perhaps just a shared set of overalls.
It may well be they're using the pit crew that are more attuned to the fuelling rig.
Yes. Coming from the 90 car, which is the TF Sport Aston Martin.
They do need to share a fuel rig here, and that agreement needs to be made with a partner team. And obviously that's easier if you've got team cars in both. Tom Onslow Cole out of the car, helmet off. It is a drive-through penalty meanwhile for car number 22 for speeding in pit lane. That's Matt Bell's car. Whether that was coming in or going out. Matt Bell down in 17th position, but it will be a drive-through, so further damage, I'm afraid, for the 22. So the order, as it stands, Alex Terrell does rejoin and looks to rejoin in the lead. 10 seconds to the good of the number 14 car from Ross Warburton. We wait to find out whether or not there's going to be any issue there for the number 14. For a pit stop that looked as if it might be a little short. Colin Noble, meanwhile, 15 seconds back from Ross Warburton, but lapping last time around something like 4 seconds quicker. So Colin Noble catching very quickly indeed. Then it's the Graf car in 4th position, number 65, 44 SPV car in 5th. Then Andy Merrick actually running in a fine 6th position, but quite a way back. It's 75 seconds back from the lead for Andy Merrick. Ramon Vos emerges from the pits in the lead of GT3, but just waiting for confirmation of exactly where in the order that will be.
Well, we'll wait for that information to come through. One thing is for sure, the pit lane window is definitely closed now, because we're at 54 minutes to go in the race. It slammed shut at 55 minutes. However, if you'd made your stop at 55 minutes and 1 second to go in the race, that's absolutely fine. So if you cut the beam at that point, then the pit stop is deemed to be legal. DKR Engineering heading over the rise and into Rint Corner, but an opportunity to just take a brief look back at what's happened already in this so far hour-long race. It will be 2 hours by the time we finished it, and it got very, very tight into the first corner with the 33 fully locked up. It meant that Alex Capardia and a few others had to go to the escape route across the Austrian flag. There was a side swipe there in the early stages for Nathan Biel at the wheel of the 53 YMR car, and that was the Lamborghini Huracan rejoining after a moment. Also a run through the gravel for Javier Ibran as part of the Ibran team, and car 33 did manage to get out of the kitty litter there. A fabulous drive from Alex Capardia, really turning on the style, and car 14 started in 18th position. Well, it got up to 2nd place come the stops. Ross Warburton's now taken that car over, but Alex Capardia had to overtake so many cars. Both GT3 and LMP3 was very nearly collected by a spinning 99 N-Race car as well at turn 4, but a good bit of avoidance there to mean that Alain Costa headed into the gravel to bring out our only full-course yellow so far. Very entertaining GT3 battle involving Tom Onslow Cole and Emanuele Busnelli, with Flick Haig in the Optimum Racing Audi R8 LMS, and Flick has now handed that car over to Joe Osborne. Synchronised spinning at Rint Corner for Nathan Biel and the 98 machine. Car 98 that was started by Eric de Donker, and Andy Merrick's now taken that over. And this rather audacious manoeuvre for the number 12, and there was then contact between the 8 Lamborghini and the 44 SPV machine. More great battling between Nathan Biel and Alvaro Fontes, and Graham Goodwin's bet for most entertaining driver, in the opening hour at least, was Alvaro Fontes in the number 44 car. Certainly a striking livery. And the number 3 car that leads the way, now driven by Spaniard Alex Terrell, has this lead of 22 seconds as Alex goes faster than anybody else through sector 1. So car 3 starting to light up the timing screens as we'd expected, Graham.
Well, the second place car in the hands of Ross Warburton, that lead being swallowed up at the moment by Colin Noble. I think he's going to be buying the next lap, but the team manager has been called to race control. I'm betting on it. That's to do with a potentially short pit stop after the fantastic performance in the early part of the race from Alex Capardia. Nick, I think we're going to be able to go down to pit lane and have a word with Charlie George, having catch up with Alex Capardia after one of the drives of the race so far.
Yeah, and down here at RLR, Alex, a fantastic stint from you. Started from 18th, got all the way up to second. Hard work, I imagine. And now we're hearing that there may be a problem with your pit stop.
Yeah, a bit of a bittersweet race. Ross did a good job in qualifying, got up 18th, but I had a bit of work to do to get past some of those cars. Got it up to second, started catching up to the Norma in the lead. We had it down to about 3 seconds, so just shows that Team RLR have really made progress with the car and that we're a team on the move. Not quite sure what's happened in the pit stop. We apparently we're 3 seconds under. We had to go long when I came in because there was a car right behind me. I'm not sure if something to do with that has confused the system, but we have to wait to see what happens now. But we may get a drive through. Either way, it's a good race for us up to this point, and we just want to see if Ross can go out there and improve on his times from qualifying.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Well, putting a brave face there on disappointing evidence, possibly, and we will wait and see. It will be investigated, and there's no sign of a penalty quite yet.
Another penalty I think that might be looming here. Since coming out from the pit stop, the number 12 car that's already had a stop and hold has twice caught the attention for track limits again. So has had a warning, now gets a black and white flag for abuse of track limits. Well, it's the previous driver that did the stop and hold. Does look to me as if it's distinctly possible that Marco Ciangetti might also be getting the same kind of treatment very soon. New fastest lap of the race, meanwhile, for Alex Tyrrell. He is pulling away from now Colin Noble up into second position. Takes that position from Ross Warburton. It's 27 seconds the lead now. 1:27.581 is the new fastest lap of the race for Alex Tyrrell, and he's going quicker again in both the first and second sector of this lap, although his outright fastest second sector bettered as I speak by Michele Rugolo in the number 55 car. That's the Spirit of Race car he shares with Claudio Sedanovic.
Weather still closing in. Now, I was suggesting that the wet weather's going to get to us, but actually after 6 o'clock. I know I'm being brave there, and there'll be plenty of people probably making a beeline for me if the wet stuff does arrive before 6, but I'm still relatively confident that we've got 45 minutes of clear air. Let's wait and see, as the number 3 car has now to negotiate Phil Keane, although the exit speed out of turn 2 looks to be relatively similar. GT3 compared to LMP3. The P3, the Norma, gains its time through the fast corners, of course. It has a lot more downforce than the GT3 car, despite that massive rear wing on the rear of the number 7 car, as there's a new fastest lap of the race. Michele Rugolo, the starman in the 55 car, that is the Spirit of Race Ligier, now faster than anybody else. Another spin for the 33, and it stopped right on the apex of turn number 1 with the car. Oh, that's the Ram Racing car off in the distance as well. So Raymond Vos, who is the GT3 leader, I'll say that again, was the GT3 leader, losing it as he desperately tries to recover that situation. Now, did those 2 cars make contact, or did Raymond go off in avoidance of this 33 car? Double waved yellow flags. I'm not sure how much the drivers can see round the corner.
Oh, it's
very, very close.
It's a horrible place to be stuck. He tried to rejoin the race. Raymond Vos has managed to get the car moving, but there's damage. There's damage. I think that might be it. He's pulled the car off the circuit. So we didn't see the beginning of that incident. We saw the end of it with the 33 car trying to recover, coming across the track to the apex of turn 1, or just beyond the apex of turn 1, and either beaching the car, but rather getting the car on the curbs, or certainly not being able to rejoin. But it's in a horrible place there. We go full course yellow.
Yeah, well, I think there's very little option, to be honest, and Raymond Vos may have an opportunity.
He's got a problem.
Yes.
We can't see the damage. Oh, no,
it's a puncture. It's a rear right puncture. So now, has that come as a result of contact? Just seeing whether there's some scarring on the rear right wheel as well. It's on the link road, which leaves the main Grand Prix circuit here, about a third of the way up the hill, and then joins again at turn 5. So he can shortcut this lap to try and get it back.
Now, the problem he's got there, of course, he'll lose that lap.
Yes.
So he's already lost the lead because Babini will be through, and already is through into the lead. Joe Osborne up into second. Awful luck again for Ramon Vos. He's getting out the car, or he's looking for, I think, assistance here. Of course, this was a car, if I remember rightly, was collected heavily at Monza as well. You're right, the rear right tyre has gone.
It just looked like there may have been a bit of exposed metal on the rim as well, rather than it being the full black colour.
Now, what has happened here? It is on the curb, we can see that. But I don't think that's it. I think there's a further problem for that number 33 car.
Well, rear-wheel drive, these LMP3s, so maybe just can't find a reverse gear, the driver of the 33, and it's lodged right up against the curb, as you say, so can't go forwards and now needs to reverse out of that scene. But I think sensibly the driver, Matthijs Bakker, was not wanting to reverse into traffic because he couldn't see around the corner. And actually the safer place to be for Matthijs might have been just to sit there and allow the session to be neutralised, for the race to be neutralised rather.
Yeah, and horrible luck for Ramon Vos. We don't know what's happened here.
No.
It would seem sensible to assume that the two cars have in some way made contact.
Well, Charlie's down in the pit lane and maybe heading towards Tom Onslow Cole just to see whether he can shed a little bit of light on it. Meanwhile, the 33 car then of Matthijs Bakker, the Dutchman, is being wheeled backwards. Has he started the engine? It suggests not. Oh, no, there's a little bit of movement there. It's got damage, hasn't it?
There is damage at the front of that car, and I'm hearing from Ram Racing that they were hit by an LMP3, has a puncture and will have to retire, is what they say.
Oh dear. OK, well, the man that probably can tell us a little bit more is now with Charlie George down in the pit lane as Ramon Vos's Mercedes is wheeled behind the concrete barrier. That's the end for Ram Racing's Mercedes. Let's hear from its other driver, Tom Onslow Cole.
Well, Tom, it all looked like it was going really well with the different strategy, and unfortunately the bad luck has struck again. What exactly has happened?
All we know is that Ramon radioed in that he's been hit by an LMP3 car and has a rear puncture, as we can see on the screen, which is gutting, really. You know, we had the same thing at Monza. We got hit in the rear, and it just so happens the splitter of an LMP3 car is perfect to fit underneath the back bumper of a Mercedes and pierce the tyre. But this is getting frustrating now, I think, and this is probably our championship fight over anyway, because we were on the back foot. We needed a good round, and gutted for Ramon as well. He's been putting in a lot of work to try and catch up with these other AM drivers. You know, he hasn't got the experience that some of the other guys out there have, and he's been working so hard to get up to their pace. And we were hoping this would really come to fruition for us at this weekend, but no points, and he's definitely going to be disgruntled.
So sorry. Thanks.
Again, another brave face, really, and a true professional, Tom Onslow Cole. I think we get the message there, but not a lot they can do.
Not a great early wedding present either for Tom Onslow Cole, due to get married in just a few weeks' time to the lovely Rebecca Jones. Good luck to both of you.
If either of them can fit it into their very, very busy seasons.
Well, you know, there's racing to be done.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Priorities, guys, come on.
Absolutely. They'll run down the aisle.
Who gets married during a motorsport season? That's what the winter's for. I suppose good weather, really. 42 and a half minutes to go, and the incident involving car 33 and 5, so there is confirmation that it was the Ibram car that was involved with Ramon Vos's Mercedes from Ram Racing. And the 33 car looks like it's possibly out of the race as well. The Ibram Pardo Javier entered car, although driven at that time by Matthijs Bakker, the Dutchman, as I say, another bronze driver. It's a bronze duo, in fact, in the 33. There's the 46 then, the car that's now in the lead of GT3, and the 8 car not really in the mixture for this weekend. It's at least a lap down, so car 46 leading from the 75 Audi of Joe Osborne. What's the gap? Something like 15 seconds between Babini and Osborne now.
That might even out a little, because that was slightly affected by where the race went back to green. However, Ross Warburton, who's in between the two Lamborghinis, is being caught by the number 65 Graf Racing car just there in the bottom of the shots for third position overall, with the potential, of course, of a penalty looming over the RLR car. So frustration for a couple of the runners that really did pour on the entertainment for the first part of this race in the last few moments.
Still got the 19 runners though, and although the 33, oh, is that still moving? I think it might be.
I think it is.
Yes.
I think he rejoined.
Okay.
His last lap was, well, about where it should have been.
We were wondering whether it was carrying damage. It might have broken a dive plane if what Tom says was accurate, and the front splitter, which does protrude quite a bit at the front of these LMP3s, just scooped underneath and pierced the tyre. And
cow catch is required, I think, for the Mercedes AMGs here. Rather a shame.
Yeah, more black and white flags this time for track limits for the 55 cars 4, 55 and 75 in fact. So 75 is Flick Haig's and now Joy Osborne driven Audi.
It is a 3-second stop and go penalty for the third position car, in fact the fourth position car, because Cardet has gone by Ross Warburton. Colin Noble meanwhile took a little bit out of the leader last time. For the first time I've noticed, it's 25.9 seconds is the gap, but took a couple of seconds out of, I'm presuming, a traffic-bound Norma ahead. So we will be seeing the number 14 car, down pit lane for a brief stop and hold.
And it's 3 seconds because that's the amount of time that the pit stop was short, effectively, or yes, too short. It was a 1 minute and 57 second pit stop, and it needs to be 2 minutes or longer.
But it will cost them a further 20 seconds over and above that. And just looking down the order, that's going to put them mighty close to the charging number 98 of Andy Merrick. Amongst the quickest men on the circuit at the moment. He's 1 minute and 20 seconds back from the lead. But catching Ross Warburton and indeed Emile Cardet in third. So he's one to watch for the next 39 minutes, Andy Merrick.
Good times coming through, sector times certainly from Alex Tyrrell and from Colin Noble. Tyrrell faster than anyone else through sector 3, Colin Noble faster through sector 2 than anybody else left in the race as well. So Colin Noble trying to get closer to Alex Tyrrell where possible. He's got 25 seconds near enough to try and make up, and that's now 50 laps completed by the number 3 car from DKR Engineering. On course for a second victory of the year. Still 40 minutes to go though, so let's not speak too early. We've had wins from Nielsen Racing, from United Autosports and from DKR so far this year. They could become the first repeat winners therefore.
Fastest lap of the race goes to Colin Noble. It's a 1:27.345, 25.1 seconds the gap now. That's a further 0.8 per second taken out the leader, Alex Tyrrell. Still a good lead though for the Norma, the DKR Engineering man. Here comes Ross Warburton. I keep wanting to say Ross Noble. Ross Warburton, getting mixed up with Colin Noble there. This will be a brief 3-second stop and hold. There is Colin Noble in the number 79 car, going great guns. But I think he might need assistance here to break down this 25-second gap that Alex Tyrrell is defending. There goes the number 14 car. Will he come out ahead of Andy Merrick? It's going to be close. And I think Merrick may have gone through.
Let's have a look. Merrick driving the 98 car, which is already heading up towards turn 2. So yes, the car is out in front of number 14, and that's a change in position with Merrick now up to 4th and Warburton down to at least 5th.
So Andy Merrick now ahead, has a 30-second gap to work on with Emile Cardet ahead. So it is DKR Engineering lead the way with their Norma. Then it's the Ligier battle, the 79 Nielsen Racing car, this car. Third is the number 65 Graf Racing car of Emile Cardet. And in 4th, chasing that trio, Andy Merrick in the Motorsport 98 Ligier. Ahead now of Ross Warburton, who is going to be in close contention on the road, by the way, with, guess who? It's the 44 car. It's been involved with just about every battle we've seen this afternoon.
Yes.
This time, though, of course, in the hands of its second driver, and that is Andrew Cummings.
Yeah, and the 44 car was nose to tail for many, many laps with the 53 that at the time had Nathan Biel at the wheel. Well, the M Racing car's now been handed over to Laurent Millara, and as you say, it's potentially going to be Andrew Cummings in the 44 up against, well, Michele Rugolo from behind and Ross Warburton that is just up ahead. So Rugolo expected to scythe his way through the order. He's got just under 10 seconds to try and find on the Andrew Cummings car, the 44, bright yellow from SPV. Meanwhile, with 36.5 minutes still to go. The Graf car, number 65, is being pursued by Fabio Babini in car 46. 65 being driven by Emilien Cart now, who is the co-driver to Adrian Schiller. And Card, we know, is very, very quick. Had a good Le Mans silver driver, and that car behind Colin Noble in 79 and behind Alex Terrell.
It is a further penalty for the number 55 car. It is a stop-and-go penalty for 55 and for the 4. So 55 in the hands of Michele Rugolo, briefly had the fastest lap of the race. They will drop away from being a threat to the now 6th position. Ross Warburton has lost that position to Andrew Cummings in the 44 car. So the 55 car, Spirit of Race car, will be down pit lane for a stop and go, maybe a strop and go, actually. In the 12th position, the number 4 car, that is the Cool Racing by GPC car in the hands of Iraj Alexander, Swiss driver. It's a double Swiss driving crew in that car. 12th position and 10th in LMP3. That car too will be getting a stop-go penalty.
Andy Merrick running 4th, Andrew Cummings 5th, 6th place for Ross Warburton, and very, very busy at turn 1 with the Cool Racing car of Iraj Alexander, trying to squeeze up the inside there of car 23, I reckon that was, Richard Mines.
It's Richard Mines on the inside. It's behind is the 33, recovering from the spin at turn 1 earlier. So that is the 12th position car of Richard Mines. Is that a battle for position? It is, you know. There's the 4 and the 23 in a battle for position. Of course, Iraj Alexander is going to have that stop-go. The 55 car takes its penalty immediately.
The times from Iraj Alexander look pretty good now. I had concerns about the 4 car, just as far as the tracking or steering. Remember it had that good old clonk from the 46 EB Motors Lamborghini when Emanuele Busnelli ran wide at turn 8 and rejoined and smacked into the side of Alexander Kwani as it was at the time behind the wheel of the 4. But Iraj Alexander looks fine in terms of the pace. Unfortunately, it's going to have to come in and serve that penalty though before going any further. Confirmation that there are black and white flags now being flown in the direction of the number 22 and the 99 cars. So that's United Autosports and the N race Ligiers.
So Matt Bell at the moment in the frame for that one, Thomas Zachary. And Matt recovering up the field to 15th position. He's just got by a couple of the GT3 cars as the 23-33 battle continues. Richard Mines and Matthias Backer, and on different laps these two, but it's not stopping them from having a good old tussle. But the car that is on the same lap is the 3rd car in the order. That is a real battle with Richard Mines. That's Sanchetti in the number 12 car. This is for 12th position overall and a top 10 slot.
Meanwhile, conversations being had down at G-Drive Racing. That's an European Le Mans Series crew. But well done again to Leo Roussel after a tremendous performance in qualifying earlier on today to get that team a pole position.
Well, pole position, the closest pole position in European Le Mans Series history. It was a battle with his teammate, 5 thousandths of a second. It is a qualifying lap record, not a surprise for these new cars. But astonishingly, just 6.5 seconds slower than the qualifying time for last year's Austrian Grand Prix for the 10th place car on the grid.
Wow.
In the hands of, I think it's Felipe Massa. And that's a change in position. Giangetti goes through on Richard Mines for 12th position, but has been reported to the stewards for constant abuse of track limits. There was going to be a meaty penalty coming the way of that car. They've already had, was it a 60-second stop and hold?
Yes,
that car?
yes, for SVC Sport Management, the crew that have 2 cars here for the Road to Le Mans race. Great to see that Nicolas Lapierre is also taking an active interest in the Le Mans Cup race.
Enric Edmond putting a bit of branding there on top of the Dragon Speed and, well, the Toyota factory driver this year, of course, at the Le Mans 24 Hours. Terribly unlucky, that squad, again. And further black and white flag meanwhile. It seems like everybody's getting them. Stevie S in the number 8 Lamborghini, the all-orange SVC car. Alex Terrell stabilising that gap now, 23.4 seconds. Colin Noble had it down to about 22 seconds rather. Just watching for where the progress is coming. Andy Merrick is closing, but not quickly enough at this stage of the race.
Yeah. And the gap between the two GT3 leaders is about 15 seconds. At times, Joe Osborne is able to lap quicker than Fabio Babini, and I get all excited because it'd be great to have a battle to the line. And then Fabio Babini finds the relevant gaps in the traffic and is able to up his pace as well. In fact, as Babini goes across the line, he's just done the car's best lap of the race, the 46 EB Motors Lambo, as has Joe Osborne. So both those guys have got to be in clear air. Here is Babini on the ascent from turn 1 to 2. And it's going to be quite a long pause before Joe Osborne appears at Remus Corner.
It's about 15 seconds the gap. And Babini's done a fine job of stabilising that gap.
Well, just to give you an indication, the 75 Audi of Joe Osborne is at turn 2, Remus, now. And the EB Motors Lambo hasn't quite reached Rauch Corner into turn 3. So a little less than the back straight, as I like to call it, between turn 2 and 3 at the top of the hill as a lead in GT3. That's not insurmountable, I would suggest, as through the pit lane goes Iraj Alexander to serve the penalty then for Cool Racing. So that was just a drive-through for car 4. Took him 27 seconds. You can do it a little quicker than that, but maybe some recalibration required for the pit lane speed limiter. But another car, sadly, to have to serve a penalty, quite legitimately though, Michele Rugolo, who was pushing on, car 55 being one of the cars being told to come in for a drive-through penalty as well.
Well, that's good news though for Ross Warburton, who did have Michele Rugolo right behind him. It's given him a bit of an edge there, maybe 10 seconds respite on track.
Rugolo's actually served that penalty now, so it took him 24 seconds to come through.
It's another stop-go penalty for the number 12 car. Tenchetti in 11th position. I strongly suspect it's going to be quite a lengthy one.
Yeah. No indication of the time quite yet, as Colin Noble goes faster than anyone else through sector 2. Gap is hovering around 23, 24 seconds, but a really good lap from the Spaniard that leads the race, Alex Terrell, driving the number 3 car, the DKR Norma that he took over from Jean Glorieux. A superb stint from the Belgian, Alex Terrell taking that car over. It was a stop and go pretty much for the 12 car, so no extra time.
New fastest lap of the race, and it's the first lap under 1:27. This time to Colin Noble, brings the gap down to 23 seconds at 1:26.926, and the lead car and the 79 car swapping, it seems, fastest sector times, ultimate fastest sector times at will.
As the Italian driver of car number 12, which sadly has fallen quite a bit further down now, Marco Tenchetti, rejoins. Several visits to the pit lane for car 12. Is it 4? Yes,
it's 4. Yeah.
Well, it should have been 1, and they've done their they've done their mandatory pit stop, but there've been 3 extra penalties.
Well, they've had a drive-through, a stop and hold, and a stop and go so far, all for track limits.
It's getting the full quota, isn't it, I suppose, of the various different penalties, and also giving us a look into the regulations as to what order they appear in.
Indeed.
28 minutes to go.
Taking off in the I Spy book of racing, all the available options.
Yeah, full complement. There's Darren Turner from the Beach Team AMR crew.
Talking the enemy there, it's TF Sports.
No, yes.
Getting some intelligence. Not that Darren in any way is lacking intelligence, I should say.
He hastily adds. Both Astons being run on Dunlop tyres, as indeed they all are. All the GT cars within European Le Mans series. So glimpse of what's to come tomorrow. Remember, full coverage on the YouTube channel and various other outlets tomorrow from, well, it's a 1 o'clock start Central European time with about a half an hour build-up beforehand.
Stop and go as well, and taken immediately by Matt Bell, 13th position for the number 22 United Autosports car. Bit of bragging rights at up for grabs here between the two United cars, 12th and 13th in the order. That will just stop Matt Bell's charge for a little wee while, trying to get up with Richard Means, and it puts Iraj Alexander between the two. I think probably Tenchetti as well by the time he gets back onto track. Keeping an eye on that gap in the lead. 27 minutes to go, and Colin Noble under 23 seconds back, but not closing quickly enough. Gap can now be managed. Andy Merrick, meanwhile, is closing But Cardet able to respond on the odd lap when he's got clear air. The gap there is 28 seconds. So again, running out of time for that to make a difference. What we've got here, that is the 99 car unlapping itself. This, though, I think is a battle for position. There's Michele Rugolo with Ross Warburton and takes the position. Warburton then down to seventh place.
Yeah, Rugolo in the 55 car up to 6th position, and now Warburton under pressure from the Mercedes behind. They're not on the same lap, but Phil Keane might use this opportunity to get ahead into Rindt and the final corner as Tony Wells just relaxes down at Nielsen Racing. He's perfectly happy.
We should say hello, shouldn't we? Hello, Tony.
Yeah, we should, if he's got the volume turned up. It looks like the coverage very slightly behind real time, but enjoying the coverage courtesy of his smartphone down in the apron after a tremendous drive, I thought, from Tony, and handing over to Colin Noble.
Trouble on the way by the look of it, as he notices the presence of the cameraman. Trouble on the way, by the way, for the second place car in GT3, Joe Osborne. And there's a report to the stewards of constant abuse of track limits by the Audi. Now, where does he sit in terms of the next available threat? Well, he should be okay if the worst that happens here is a stop and go. Should have enough in hand.
Grey and orange car overlapping, black and orange car. That's the Optimum Racing Audi R8 then of Joe Osborne, needing to have a little bit of room to brake there, being overtaken by the 98 car, which is the Motorsport 98 entry.
It is going to be a stop and go for the number 75.
Okay, oh dear.
I've one or two people asking, by the way, why we haven't got the Cox Racing car here this weekend. It is Nico Pronk with some business commitments. They will be back for the remaining rounds of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Peter Cox and friend.
So 3 cars together on the timing and scoring screen, about to be disrupted by this stop and go penalty that the 75 will have to soak up, and that will give Maurizio Mediani, who now drives the number 95 Spirit of Race Ferrari, the car started by Christoph Ulrich, that will give that car probably second place in class.
I don't think it quite will. It's going to give him a sniff of a hint of a possibility of a chance.
Okay.
But don't think it's going to quite get in there.
It's too far back. And remember that, yes, it will be stopped and then will get going again very, very quickly, but it won't necessarily cost it the full 22 seconds down the pit lane for the 75, because it's still moving at 60 k's and then comes to a brief halt and gets going again. So what is the gap between Osborne and Mediani? Yeah, we're still waiting for Mediani to break the beam, and it is 25 seconds. Ooh, it's going to be tight. It is going to be tight, especially with the stop and hold. So where is Joe Osborne now in car number 75? I think, it's just gone on to another lap. So Joe's going to bide his time and maybe stop next time around.
And astonishingly, 55 reported again for abuse of track limits.
Wow. So that's the Michele Rugolo driven car.
And goes straight out for a penalty and done it again.
Yes.
That could be very bad news indeed for the 55 crew. Could be extremely good news for the RLR crew.
True, who misjudged their pit stop. Remember, they were 3 seconds short, so had to come down pit lane to then soak up those extra 3 seconds. It cost them a lot more than that because of the visit to the pit lane. There's the 44 car, which has taken admiring glances throughout the race. Andrew Cummings now enjoying himself, having taken over from Alvaro Fontes, and is just ahead of the number 99 car. That's not a race for position. Cummings is 4th, and the 99 quite a bit further down in 19th position, with Thomas Akari driving the N-Race car. Not helped, of course, by that spin into the gravel by Akari's teammate Alain Costa fairly early on. 22 minutes to go, and it is Alex Terrell for DKR Engineering leading by still 25 seconds from Colin Noble, as Andy Merrick manages to go faster than he's done in the 98 car now, so a PB for car 98, running round in 4th position and ahead of this 44 car.
The 44 car with Michele Rugolo right behind him, but I think Rugolo is going to get some bad news on the radio pretty soon.
Still haven't seen the stop yet for Joe Osborne, who goes round another time. We're normally given 3 laps to come down pit lane and serve the penalty. So Joe just heading out of turn 2 as there's very nearly a bit of contact in the 44, but that was the pass, as you say, with Rugolo getting by in the 55, and I think Andrew Cummings saw him coming and allowed therefore the gap, but
we believe the 55 waiting on bad news from the steward's office.
Yes, because of another issue with track limits, so maybe the SPV guys were playing that cannily and just saying, Andrew, let him by because you'll have an opportunity to get through in a second.
As you can see on screen, you're absolutely correct, because it's a 1 minute stop and hold penalty for both the 55 and the 4 car. The 4 car down in 12th position, but the 55 car, having just taken the 5th position, is going to lose that and a lot more.
Yeah.
Both cars for a 1 minute stop and go. So unfortunately, the warnings, just the drive-throughs haven't done the trick, so they've unlocked the box that has the big hammer in, and they're going to get it. The 4 and the 55. Andy Merrick, by the way, continues to turn up the wick, going faster and faster and faster.
Still no stop for Joe Osborne. Now I hope that's nothing to be concerned about, and that they're counting the laps within the regulations that you have to serve a drive-through, but it is there in clear yellow and black that the stop-go penalty for car 75 for abusive track limits, that was reported at 17:35. We're now 5 minutes on from that and a couple of laps.
It needs to be now.
It has to be at the end of lap 62, which is the one we're on. And Joe, I'm sure it's been told, unless of course there's an issue with the radio in the 75 car, but you can do it old school with a board over the pit lane, and hope that Joe sees it. So 1 minute stop and go penalties for cars 4 and 55, as we've said. The 4 car is Iraj Alexander, seemingly in this stint seen more of the pit lane than the actual track. 19.5 minutes to go. There's the EB Motors Lamborghini Huracan then, driven by Fabio Babini, and keeping himself out of trouble within the white lines. And I don't remember any messages for car 46, although Emanuele Busnelli was a little erratic at times and did run wide, certainly at Rint Corner, had some contact as well, but that Lambo holding up to the punishment. And Fabio Babini, incredibly experienced. Car coming very, very hot into turn 1 there was maybe Andy Merrick. Struggled to say, yes, it is the 98 car.
Could well be.
It is. So that car,
I think he'd seen the leader coming behind him.
Right, yeah.
There you go.
Monstering the curbs and maybe trying to get out of the way of Alex Terrell, which he's done now, and Terrell gliding up the inside. No, he's not quite yet, because Andy Merrick fends him off, so that might be not even an overtake for position, but Merrick quicker out of turn 2 and across the top of the circuit.
Let's keep an eye on that from Alex Terrell. The sector time is exactly where it should be. This is Iraj Alexander, the number 4 car, making his stop for this 1 minute stop and hold.
And Joe Osborne still hasn't stopped, by the way, so he carries on. We'll see how that unwinds with 18 minutes to go. The number 4 car coming in for its stop and hold. 99
gets a stop and go. That car out of the running for significant position. We're watching now the number 75 car and what's going on here.
By the way, the third name on the roof of the Cool Racing car is that of Gino Forgione, not with us this weekend and racing with Alexandra and with Iraj. May well see that car back, that driver back again. Here comes Joe Osborne, finally, down pit road. He'll say it was all part of the plan at Optimum, and maybe, of course, that the Optimum Motorsport team chief was in conversation with race control to make sure that it was definitely those guys that needed to come in, and to further establish what the issue was within the regulations. The 4 car will be released immediately in front of Joe Osborne. And where is Maurizio Mediani? Here he comes in the 95 Ferrari. I told you it was going to be close. Mediani then across the line. Joe Osborne should be able to get the hammer down out of turn 1, but we know it's a very tight exit. How close do you want it, Graham? Absolutely side by side, and Joe Osborne surely will know he's in a race here. The position is taken by Maurizio Mediani.
That's what it costs you to disobey the track limits, I'm afraid. Yeah. And that's exactly what it's cost them. It's cost them second position in this race. Now, for the last 16 and a half minutes, we've got a race on our hands for second position. In fact, the last two podium positions in GT3. Meanwhile, ahead of these, Colin Noble, another fastest lap of the race.
So that change confirmed then, the 75 car being overtaken by the 95, and this the battle for second position in GT3. Remember, for the Fabio Babini-driven Lamborghini is now half a minute up the road from these guys. So any fluctuation in the order, as far as the podium is concerned, is going to come from this red Ferrari and then the white, grey and orange Optimum Motorsport, the Optimum Racing Audi R8.
Whatever happened with the Audi, by the way, it's been a great drive back from Maurizio Mediani in the 95 car. Rather elderly Ferrari 458, but still glorious. And Joe Osborne, though, is going to have his dander up here, isn't he?
I would get that feeling, yes. He's a nice guy out of the car, Joe, but once you get him into a race car, you can just see the menace that he's trying to unleash here, with the dust being kicked up on the exit at turn 9, using, well, every inch of the track available to him, and arguably a little bit more. So needs to be wary of those track limits again, those dreaded track limits, particularly at turn 9 and turn 1. Here is the N-Race car making its visit down the pit lane.
Stop and go penalty for the number 99. I think this is at least its second penalty. I know it did a separate stop, didn't it, because of the run through the gravel. So a first penalty, I think, for the number 99. 15 minutes to go. It's been an hour and 3/4 so far. Pretty non-stop action.
And you'll not hear us complaining about that. Tremendous stuff so far, and Fabio Babini looking to be controlling this race now in the GT3 element of it. And on lap 67 just completed, now onto lap 68 goes Alex Terrell in car number 3, slowing now for turn 1. There is car 55, driven by Michele Rugolo, recently having served a penalty. And the car's now done its fastest lap of the race. I hope that was within the track limits, though, for Rugolo. 12th position overall.
Yeah, the number 12 and the number 55 together on track, and both been on the naughty step more than once. Through to complete the lap.
As a result of Rugolo's penalty, it means we've now got GT3 cars as high up as 8th, 9th and 10th positions.
What are we seeing here?
This is the leader encountering the N-Race car and the M-Racing machine. And what happened with the leader? Was there some contact? No.
There's the Motorsport 98 car of Andy Merrick ahead there.
Yeah.
Andy's still pushing hard. 28 seconds, though, is still the gap. It's been a frustrating fight for Andy Merrick, doing all he can, but unfortunately Emile Cadet able to respond to the pressure from the Englishman behind. She's not English, this is Welsh.
Get that right.
He won't thank me for that.
No, he will not. So, I thought he was from Chester. It's kind of on the border, isn't it? No, you're right, he is Welsh. Down into turn 3, and the 12 car, which has also been one of those in and out of the pits. Only need to make one stop, but you also need to abide by the track limits, and Rugolo has kind of found this car because of its many visits to pit lane as well. So this is a battle for position, 11th and 12th between two Italians, Marco Cencetti ahead of Michele Rugolo.
And Matt Bell not that far behind this battle either, about 6-7 seconds back. So this could easily be in the closing moments. So stop and go being more for number 33 and other the delayed cars. Ricard Leitz in the pits, showing off some casual wear there, Ricard. Ex-Drivers' Champion in the World Endurance Championship, firm part of the Porsche factory network of drivers, and firm favourites of the locals here in that Proton competition, who's driven for before in the WEC. I'm pretty certain took that championship win with the Proton car.
Yeah, we need Richard in this race, or Klaus Bachler, to represent the local talent here. Side by side then, between the 12 and the 55, this might be Michele Rugolo's opportunity. The car carrying a bit of damage on the rear left corner, it looked like then, leading turn 2. 12 still just ahead of 55. This is surely Rugelo's opportunity. No, he was running deep into turn 3, trying to avoid contact. There was an element there of forcing the 12 car off the road, but Cincetti had to concede in the end. Rugelo well and truly revved up about this race now.
Absolutely, Matt Bell is still catching 5 seconds back now from this. In time in the lead of the race, by the way, and I've no doubt whatsoever, in no small part with Alex Tyrrell managing this gap, is down to 17.5 seconds. 55 goes by 33, and the car which owes us a penalty stop doesn't take it this time around. Stays out just a little longer, 11 minutes to go. Joe Osborne there, going across the line, still in pursuit of the number 95 Ferrari. The Ferrari able to pull away a little at the moment, just a few tenths, but that'll be enough to fend off the attack from the Audi.
And up the hill then comes the number 12 car, having just been passed by car 55. Optimum Racing's Audi still sitting there in 3rd position, but a good time that time through sector 1 for Joe Osborne, the car's best, and he's still got Maurizio Mediani within his sights. It's not quite done yet. The problem is, for Joe at least, there's only a little over 10 minutes to go of this 4th race of the year, 3rd round of the year for the 2017 Michelin Le Mans Cup. Live from the Red Bull Ring in Austria, in Spielberg, Austria, and it's Graham Goodwin and Johnny Palmer taking you through the last few laps then of this tremendously entertaining race, with Colin Noble now on the attack, 2nd place in P3, alongside Fabio Babini, who leads GT3.
It's been like this throughout, hasn't it? It's cars in significant battles getting together on track, sometimes a little bit too close together. But some great racing, as well as a lot of incidents and a lot of penalty stops for track limits here. The race director leaving no doubt that the instructions these guys were given, both in driver's briefing and constantly since then, will be enforced. And if the one rule of motorsport officialdom that I believe you should always hold dear is you've got to be consistent. And
yes,
consistent he most certainly has been.
Well, there have been announcements before every session. They've been penalties dished out in every session. And then there's been the reminder at the start of the next session that once again they'll be keeping an eye on those track limits. But I do understand it from a driver's perspective. You're trying to get as much out of the track, as much out of the circuit as possible, and that is running those track limits as close as you can. But the very nature of us all being human beings means that sometimes you're going to go over that white line, but built into the regulations are 1st and 2nd chances, and then repeat offenders will be penalised, and that's precisely what we've got in certainly some cases, including the 12 and the 55 cars, amongst others.
So lead gap 16.7 seconds, but there's only 8.5 minutes to go. Alex Tyrrell, by the way, still in the 128s. That's still a very quick time indeed. 127 solidly now, Colin Noble. And, well, he'll have a sniff. He'll know full well that the gap is being managed, but if he's got a sniff at all that he thinks the lead car might have anything of a problem, he'll be pushing as hard as he possibly can. Also pushing, Andy Merrick, 127.4, his fastest lap of the race so far. Takes a 2.5 seconds out of Emil Carde, but that's not going to be enough with the clock ticking down, under 8 minutes now. Fabio Babini, meanwhile, holds a 25-second gap over Maurizio Mediani. Mediani, though, taking 2 seconds out of that gap last time around. Another man, though, running out of time. 12 car goes way wide there. One of the number of runners that has just hit trouble after trouble, and usually of its own making, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Ciancetti's been a little neater with his running compared to co-driver Maratiotto, but even Marco's had 1 or 2 errors.
Not much, I have to say. Yeah, I think he's had the warnings.
Yeah. Well, 1 or 2 of them, when Ciancetti took over, had been accumulated by Maratiotto, and of course it's the car that earns the penalty. The penalty is assessed not to each individual driver, so you get your co-driver taking over, and often some of the first jobs that the new driver has to do is serve penalties for the previous guy. What's happened here on the exit of the final corner, that's again track limits with both cars, certainly the Audi and the 55 of Michele Rugolo running wide on the exit of turn 9.
It's the 55 and the 12 together again, isn't it?
Yeah, but the 75 of Joe Osborne also pushing a bit wide, and there was, I suppose, an element of it pursuing Michele Rugolo and following it off the track, but you'll still be done for it. Over the sausage curb there went the number, that wasn't the 12, it's the car behind the 12 on the road, maybe I'll be Matt Bell.
That's the 22.
Yes, it is.
And we said that he was catching, he's caught.
So this car started by Jim Maguire, the United Autosports entry, and now taken over by the man from the northeast of England, Matt Bell.
Well, 6 minutes to go, Johnny, and the 9th position car overall, 8th in LMP3, is the 55 of Michele Rugolo. He is at the moment 3 seconds ahead of Matt Bell, but they've got 2 other cars between them. So there's 4 cars separated by 3.5 seconds for, well, some significant points here for these guys.
Yeah,
Matt Bell is the man charging here.
That's a good point, and to finish in the top 10 will certainly be crucial, and any better than that, then the increments become more substantial. Remember, it's 25 points for a class victory, 18 points for second position, 15 for third, and it goes down to 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 and 1. And then if you're outside the top 10 but still classified, you get half a point. There's a point and offer for pole position as well in each of the classes. Very, very busy part of the track here across the line with the Ferrari number 95 of Maurizio Mediani about to be lapped.
That is 10th, and it's not lapped.
Ooh.
It's 10th, 11th and 12th overall, and with that Matt Bell getting both places, it was indeed. Matt Bell goes through.
Gets 2 of them.
Tokyo Drift style almost, as the number 12 car goes straight on.
Yeah, so Matt Bell got it stopped. He gains a class position, he gains 2 overall positions, and that is more points for the 22.
Watch this again. That was the 12 car going by the 95, but completely missing his braking point. Matt Bell, meanwhile, as the Ferrari driver was just watching the 12 car sail by.
Well, that's the thing. The Ferrari, I think, saw it coming and didn't want to turn in, and Matt Bell just braked extra early and thought, I'll just pick the 2 of you off by going neat and tidy through the corner. 4
minutes to go, and there's a black and orange flag for the 5th position car overall. That's the SPV car, the 44 car. Repair rear lower lights.
Yes, that was the rear right corner, I think. So it's part of the legality panel, which is hanging loose, yeah, as a result of contact with the number 8 Lamborghini earlier on, the SVC orange car. It was Cedric Mezar, and the driver of the 44 was Alvaro Fontes at the time. And as a result of the contact, which presumably was looked into and no further action necessary, but it did do damage to one corner, rear corner of the 44, and it's knocked the light out. The light has to be working.
That's absolutely dreadful luck for that team. That could gift 5th position to Ross Warburton, although he's got his mirrors full at the moment of the number 53 car. That's the M Racing YMR car. Number 53 just with Warburton now, Laurent Molara. And this, at the moment, a battle for 6th position. It could become a battle for 5th. 3 minutes to go. The gap for the lead, by the way, under 15 seconds.
And there is Colin Noble heading into Rint Corner, the penultimate on the circuit. This 2.6 mile Red Bull Ring in the valley in the Styrian Mountains, and some concerned looks probably all the way up and down the pit lane here, because this race still offering us some unanswered questions. The 65 car, which is the Graf entry, started by Adrien Schiller and taken over by Emilien Card, the 2 French drivers, and Card has established that 3rd place position despite Andy Merrick's best efforts to reel in car 65 in the Motorsport 98 car.
So there's some fighting drives here up and down the field, haven't they, amongst them? Matt Bell into the top 10 overall from way, way down the field. He took the car over from Jim Maguire. Victor Mediani, another man who's fought back. Second at the moment, and looks like retaining it in GT3. Joe Osborne has dropped back a little from this, what was a fight as he came out from that stop-go.
Yes, Matt Bell on course for a best result as far as the 2-hour races are concerned this year. The duo managed to get a point at Monza, and this could be potentially 2 points in Austria because of, as you say, it's into the top 10 overall, but it would be a 9th place finish in class. So another 90 minutes to go until we see the checkered flag, and we may well, of course, get a few extra seconds as well, depending on where the leader is. Stayed dry to this point. There is rain on the way, but it looks like we're going to get this race done before things get very, very wet and slippery.
Keep an eye, by the way, another battle that is developing here. We talked about the 44 car likely needing to pit before the end of this race. My guess is they won't, and we'll argue the case afterwards. But behind them, Ross Warburton fending off at the moment on Millara. I think this is a lifetime best for Ross Warburton, the 14 car. He took that car over from Alex Capardi in second position, lost a couple of places on pace, but has, I think, put in his best, the best driver I've seen. This is exactly what the Le Mans Cup is about. It's about putting gentleman drivers into positions where they're put under pressure, but not as much pressure as, for instance, the European Le Mans Series. Bring on the skill set, usually with the help of a professional driver, in this case Alex Capardi, and it appears at the moment to be working. It is 2.3 seconds is the gap between the two. The clock is about to expire, 10 seconds to go before the checkered flag comes out. Will the Norma will have to go through, and will have to do another lap, try to duck out of that, I think, a little. Checkered flag comes out just as the Norma goes through. There will need to be another lap for the leader. The gap, by the way, is 13 seconds, but of course Colin Noble will... No, he's taken the flag. Didn't see the flag there on the stand, but the timing screen tells us Alex Terrell has won this race.
Yeah.
Together with his teammates.
Confirmation on our screen that Alex did see the checkered flag, and the gap at the line, 12 seconds between Alex Terrell and Colin Noble, who is also home. We're still waiting for Emilian Card for the Graf crew. Car shared with Adrian Schiller, as I mentioned, and Schiller and Card's car about to come across the line. Still waiting for one or two other runners as well. Congratulations to Fabio Babini, I should say, and his teammate in the 46. That's Emanuele Busnelli, who qualified the car early this morning, handed over to fellow Italian, and that car is going to take victory in GT3 in the end from the 95 Spirit of Race Ferrari.
Classy display there from the EB Motors crew. Again, though, should say, rotten luck for the Ram Racing team. Great run at the start from Tom Onslow Cole, and what looked like a fighting display from Ramon Vos. We didn't get to see the incident that actually accounted for the Ram Racing AMG. They're all home, and it will be 19 of the 21 starters completing the distance. And that was a good one, Johnny.
It certainly was, and the DKR Engineering Norma is clearly very, very good, but it's always fun to see what the Ligiers can do in this configuration of LMP3. They all run with exactly the same 5-litre V8 Nissan engine, and it's a question of Ligier, at this stage in the season at least, trying to narrow that gap. But we have, on many occasions, seen Ligiers take victory. That's now then just to update the points. A win for Nielsen Racing, and we had the two 55-minute races at Le Mans, so a win for the number 2 United Autosports cars and DKR Engineering. So back-to-back victories, in fact, for Jean Glorieux and Alex Terrell from France into Austria. So they will retain their championship lead with another 25 points going their way. Nielsen Racing, second in the championship coming into this race, gets second place in the race. So at least they keep their heads above water as far as everything else is concerned as well, but might be a little bit disappointed to see that championship gap open up from 10 points to now 18.
Well, the crowd enjoyed it. Still lovely sunshine here, not spoiled, or in racing terms, possibly enhanced by the introduction of some additional weather conditions. We thought we might get some rain. That went away. Happy EB Motors crew. Correctly so. 12 seconds, by the way, the gap at the flag eventually. Colin Noble never gave up the chase, but it always looked as if Alex Terrell had that one in hand. But a race it was, very much to the flag, and, well, the Ligier hordes know that the Norma is quite a piece of work now.
Yep, just one of them present in this race, but there are to be 3 in the European Le Mans Series event tomorrow. The gap's actually going to be 17 points, I beg your pardon, from the 10 that it was coming into this race, because DKR get 25, Nielsen Racing get 18, and the number 2 United Autosports car not with us this weekend. So that raced at Le Mans, it didn't race at Monza, so that gap's going to be fairly considerable now, because the next car on the list is 55, and that was way down in 9th position. So starting to turn into a bit of a 2-horse race in the early stages of the Le Mans Cup between this car and number 79 of Nielsen Racing. As far as the team's championship in GT3 is concerned, it was, well, effectively Lee Mole leading the championship with his co-driver Phil Keane, although the 7 car finishing in 4th position. So that is ground gained by EB Motors, who trailed by 7.5 points. And
I think they'll take the lead.
I think they may well take the lead. 25, compare that to what will 12 get? 12, okay.
So they get 13 additional points. They will take the lead.
It's really bunched it up at the head of the order as far as GT3 is concerned, and that's what we like. Lee Mole and Phil Keane just struggling a little bit, although helped out by some trials and tribulations for other cars, including the Ram Racing Mercedes, and Tom Onslow Cole already writing off this year's championship for the number 5 Ram Racing crew, which is a shame for him to admit. I'm not sure whether that's necessarily the case, because we still have 3 more races to go, 3 2-hour affairs, the next being at Paul Ricard at the end of August. Then we take the visit to Spa-Francorchamps in September, and we end our season at Portimao in Portugal in October. But there are the winners at EB Motors. Very smart racing suits to match the livery of the car. Fabio Babini and Emanuele Busnelli, the man who's worked tremendously hard today to take pole position initially and do that very impressive stint. There's Alex Terrell to receive congratulations from the team and from Jean Clorio, and DKR Engineering again on the top step of the podium. The Belgian and the Spaniard being run by the team from Luxembourg, DKR.
And there's a young man, by the way, that realises the significance to his burgeoning career of this series. Offers him an opportunity to build a presence in sports car racing. I have zero doubt we'll be seeing a lot more of Alex Terrell.
Yes, up and down the prototype ladder potentially. And Alex Terrell, experienced in GTs, has raced a lot at the Nürburgring over the course of his relatively short career. And Alex then another victory for this year's Michelin Le Mans Cup, having been victorious in the Saturday morning event of the Road to Le Mans race, which was round 2B, if you like, of this year's championship. The rain has now started to fall right at the end of the race. Let's have a word, though, with one of our winners down with Charlie George.
Well, guys, you look very happy. You've had 3 pole positions so far. The win so far had escaped you until now. Finally, you've taken that win.
Yes, we're very much delighted. I'm having goosebumps at the moment, and I'm sure Alex is having as well. So certainly after the race at Le Mans, now again to be at the top step of the podium, it's really crazy feeling.
Alex, how did you enjoy that final stint?
It was amazing. The car was unbelievable good. I was improving lap by lap. Even if I was thinking, don't push, take it easy. But the car was amazing. I could have thanks to his job, I had a really comfortable stint. Was managing my gap. So unbelievable job by the team, by everyone. I'm really, really happy of this win.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do like to see a young racing driver thoroughly enjoying a win.
Yeah, and you get so much enthusiasm from Alex Terrell, don't you? The highlights of the race, and there were many of them heading across the line of this 21 car field, and we managed to get, thankfully, 19 of them home. Despite various incidents, as I say, quite early on in the race, although they cleanly got through the first corner. This was a run through the gravel for Sean Lynn early on in the United Autosports 23 car. That was down at Rauch corner. Some overtaking, lots of it in fact, for Alex Kapadia, who scythed his way up the order from 18th position on the grid to run as high as second at one point, and forcing this mistake from the 99 car, spinning into the gravel at turn 4, although Alain Costa was able to recover that situation. Tom Onslow-Cole was the most awake when the green flag came out after the full course yellow that was generated by that gravelly moment for the 99 car. Tom Onslow-Cole then getting the jump on Busnelli up the hill. There was contact and synchronised spinning at Rindt corner for both the 98, the Motorsport 98 car, and the 53 from M Racing. Car going totally straight on at turn 1, missing its braking point, and there was further contact afterwards between the 44 here and the 8 on the exit of turn 1 up the hill. And this battle enthralled us for many, a sort of 10, 15, 20-minute period between the 44 and the 53. So my thanks personally to Alvaro Fontes and to the 53 driver Nathan Biel for keeping us entertained. This is what happened, and unfortunately eliminated Raymond Voss's Mercedes. The Ram Racing car had made contact with the 33 machine. We never got to see that incident, but we understand the 33 connected with the 5 car in the braking area for turn 1, resulted in the 5 car rather getting a rear right puncture, and the car was out of the race on the spot. That was the change for second position in GT3, and here was the win for Fabio Babini and Emanuele Busnelli. It was victory for DKR Engineering in the LMP3 part of the race as well, for Jean Glorieux and for Alex Tyrrell. Tyrrell coming over the line a little earlier than expected with the checkered flag being displayed. Let's get some reaction from elsewhere in the grid from GT3 now with Charlie George.
Well, Emanuele, congratulations. That was the perfect race, pole position and the win.
Yes, it was a perfect race, I did my stint very well. I mean, I didn't make many mistakes. I tried to keep the position. And then Fabio make a great job, and the car was perfect thanks to the team, and I'm so happy.
Fabio, he did a great job, didn't he?
Yeah, very good race, but the important race is the first part, because Kiko, I'm very fast in the beginning, stay near to the Mercedes and in front of the Audi. It is important for me to take the car. In the second place, I pushing, and Mercedes have their error, the spoon in the corner 1. It is the first place, and I continue to push for the final of the race, but thank you very much for all the staff of AB Motor and Lamborghini. Thank you very much.
Thank you, well done.
And after having a word with Fabio Babini and Emanuele Busnelli, we now focus on the podium for round 3 of the Michelin Le Mans Cup for 2017. Congratulations first of all to our third place finishers for Graf in their Ligier JSP3, Adrian Schiller and Emilian Cart. Second place going the way of Tony Wells and Colin Noble, but the victory to Jean Glorieux and to Alex Tyrrell, and it'll be another opportunity to hear the Luxembourg national anthem, having heard it on Saturday morning at the Le Mans 24 Hours. DKR Engineering once again victorious in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and there is a team representative from DKR to join them on the top step as well. The national anthem of Luxembourg for DKR Engineering, and the Michelin caps go back on to the heads then of the 7 personnel, 6 drivers and the extra DKR Engineering representative, and now one of the Michelin staff members to hand the trophies to our third place runners. Congratulations once again to Emilien Cart and Adrian Schiller.
A hard fight for the chasing cars this afternoon, but we heard from Alex Tyrrell, and I think he's absolutely right, by the way. Jean Glorieux great job in the first part of that race. He defended that lead, he managed that lead, that's all he had to do eventually. But a fine race in LMP3, particularly I think in the first hour. There it was topsy-turvy stuff all the way up and down the top 10 and beyond. And those efforts appreciated by a watching crowd. Just spotted Amato Ferrari from of course are in that lot, no doubt waiting for the number 95 crew in the GT battle.
Yep, so photographs to be done after the strains of Ons Gemächt, which is the title of the Luxembourg national anthem. I have to admit I didn't know that off the top of my head, but what else is the internet for, Graham?
Our homeland.
Ah,
our homeland.
Ons Gemächt. Okay, there you go. And we may well be hearing the Luxembourg national anthem a few more times this year, with 3 further races to come at Paul Ricard, at Spa and at Portimao. But the champagne is now being sprayed for the 6 drivers that are on the LMP3 podium after 2 hours of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. And it was the French tricolore livery for car 65 that came home in 3rd position. Schiller and Carte, a great combination, bronze and silver respectively. 2nd place going the way of Tony Wells, a tremendous drive from Tony, and we look forward to his stint tomorrow in the European Le Mans Series, ably assisted by the silver-graded driver Colin Noble, who was very, very fast indeed, trying to close in on Alex Tyrrell and Jean Glorio's DKR Engineering Norma M30. The gap in the end closed to 12 seconds after 77 laps. But this orange and black car, clearly the qualification specialist, didn't manage to get pole this weekend, but has on 3 other occasions. And can anyone stop the Norma M30 for the remainder of the year? It's opened its championship lead now up to 17 points from the Nielsen Racing Ligier. And more champagne slurping to be done down at ground level as the 2nd podium is being prepared. We've got a further 6 drivers to be welcomed then to the first floor here at Red Bull Ring. Last few bits of preparation being done then. There is the winning car, number 46 from AB Motors, the Lamborghini Huracan with the Michelin branding on the top of the windscreen. And car 46 having an opportunity to cool off now in Parc Fermé conditions, of course, and there may well be some post-race scrutineering as well to make sure that everything is kosher.
Sunshine returns after that brief shower, so the clouds heading off over the lumpy stuff in the background. And first the podium of Joe Osborne and Flick Haig from Optimum Motorsports.
Yeah, so they finished in 3rd position in their 5.2 litre Audi R8 LMS from Optimum Racing. 2nd place going the way of Spirit of Race with the aged Ferrari, the Swiss team, with the Swiss and Italian drivers Christoph Ulrich and Maurizio Mediani. But it is a win for EB Motors in the Lamborghini. Emanuele Busnelli to the left and Fabio Babini to the right, and that is an Italian team, so we will in a moment hear the Italian national anthem. National anthem of Italy, and there are the caps then going back onto the heads of Emanuele Busnelli and Fabio Babini. And now a representative from the track, from the Red Bull Ring here in Spielberg, to hand the trophies to Joe Osborne and to Flick Haig. 2nd place trophies the way of Christoph Ulrich with a very impressive opening stint. We'll look forward to Christoph's further progress through the year in the Le Mans Cup, ably assisted by Maurizio Mediani. But EB Motors taking the spoils with Babini and Busnelli in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Same engine that's in the back of the Audi, but the prancing horse went a little quicker this weekend, and obviously the Audi with 1 or 2 problems as far as the regulations were concerned again, and Joe Osborne perhaps having to force a smile on the 3rd step of the podium.
Yeah, he'll be frustrated, I'm sure. Post-race, he'll have a tale or two to tell. But Fabio Babini, well, he's an old hand now, but he's still very, very quick. Thoroughly enjoying the chant of the Italians, by the way, which is the translation for what is, for me, it absolutely sounds Italian, doesn't it? The Italian national anthem.
Yes.
It's a glorious thing.
If you had to encompass the Italian characteristics in a national anthem, that does it splendidly, and I've always thought that. Exuberant, but with a sense of humour as well. And there is the Audi then that finished in third position. It might have been so much better were it not for that relatively late drive-through, stop-go in fact, and Joe Osborne left it late. I hope there are not further repercussions because of that. We'll wait and see. The 95 finished in second position. That's the car raced by Spirit of Race, and they have a number of cars in this field, as they do in the European Le Mans Series. So Ulrich and Mediani, the duo that came home in the older 458 model, but it was EB Motors with their very smart-looking Lamborghini Huracan, Emanuele Busnelli and Fabio Babini just exiting the chicane there, and some great slow-mo action from earlier on in the race. Didn't have it all its own way, and there was one or two off-track moments, I think bearing scars as well on that right-hand side after contact with the Cool racing car, in fact with the YMR car, I beg your pardon, a little earlier on in the race. A rainbow in the distance here as the rain does start to pour again here in Spielberg. I have a funny feeling we might see quite a bit more of this tomorrow for the European Le Mans Series race, which is due to start at 1 p.m. Central European time through till 5 o'clock. Join us for the build-up, though, at 12:30 CET. Do the very relevant calculations to make sure that you're around for our build-up. My thanks to Graham Goodwin, who's the editor of dailysportscar.com. Johnny Palmer here in the booth, signing off for the evening. Stay dry if you can, and we look forward to an action-packed, I'm sure, third round of the year for the ELMS tomorrow. But the Michelin Le Mans Cup has been a fantastic aperitif, I think, this weekend. And congratulations to all involved, all the winners. It's bye for now, though.